My evil twin sister wants to copy my wedding, so I sabotaged her.
It's not twinning, it's twaloosing.
Please bear with me, as English is not my first language. I have a twin sister, 24 female. Let's call her Elle. We live in Spain most of the time. Just a reminder, we are identical twins, but the only difference you can see to tell us apart is that she looks like a model and I am chubby. I have dimples in both cheeks while she only has one dimple on the left side. By the way, this story comes from user Independent Lie 9975 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, my fiance, 26 male, and I have been together since the 7th grade. I've been the breadwinner in my family since my twin sister stopped going to school because she insisted she was going to become a model. It's been 5 years now, and she still says it will happen, but my parents can't work anymore because they're getting old. Here's some context for my sister's behavior and our love story. One day, my sister caught my boyfriend and me laughing and talking at a cafe. She came inside and tried to flirt with him. She said things that only my family would know, and I was so embarrassed that I wanted to just grab my things and run out of the cafe, but my boyfriend just smiled, looked at me with his sparkling eyes, and held my hand, making sure to show that he wasn't bothered by anything my twin had said.
Nice.
I looked at my twin and she was furious. She walked out of the cafe, stopped outside in front of us, and gave me the "you'll pay" look. When I got home, my mom was angry because I was still in 8th grade and already had a boyfriend. I was shocked because she had once brought a boy into our house and then went to her room. I never said anything about that, but after the boy left, she told me in a very unpleasant way not to tell our parents because we're twins and we should cover for each other, or she'd burn all my books.
It went from we're twins or I'm gonna burn all your books.
Yeah, we should just look out for each other. We're twins. By the way, I'll burn all of your belongings.
We're twins. That's what we do, right?
I got grounded for 2 years with no phone, and I wasn't allowed to leave the house? They transferred me to my sister's school and wouldn't let me see or continue my relationship with my boyfriend. After 2 years, I looked at my old phone and saw that for the entire time, he had been updating me. He understood the situation even though I hadn't said anything to him. He was happy to see that I was still reading his messages. Fast forward, my boyfriend and I went on a vacation, and I didn't expect him to propose there. When we got home the day after we got engaged, we were flying back to Spain. We were all shocked when my twin sister announced she was now engaged, and you wouldn't guess who the guy was. It was my fiance's cousin, who almost looked exactly like him.
The two twins.
She just wants to keep twinning. My parents were not expecting this because she hadn't had a boyfriend for years. We announced that our wedding would be on July 23rd, and guess what? She announced hers for an earlier date, July 13th. I was about to confront her.
She's kind of twinning right now, the model twin. I don't know, the model twin just sounds so petty, but I think she wants to be no longer a twin. I think she just wants to be...
She wants to be number one.
She wants to be the one.
She clearly wants to be number one.
I will be the one.
But you're married to the cousin. I was about to confront her, but my mom interfered and said we should give her the date since my fiance and I were now more successful and had more money than her. I let it slide, but then my wedding planner called to ask for the second half of my wedding payment as the wedding was being moved to July 13th. She told me that my sister had called her and said that I had kindly agreed to let her use my dress, venue, the food, decor, the cake, and so on.
Yo.
Your sister sucks.
She wants to be the one.
Your sister is a witch.
She's like, we're twinning, but it's just me.
No, she wants to be solo. I quickly told the wedding planner not to change anything, as I had not said that to my sister. She apologized and assured me that it wouldn't happen again and that I would need to be present for any decisions about the wedding changes. I was really upset and cried the whole day. My fiance didn't know what to do, so he called his mom and sister since we are all really close. I locked myself in our room and kept crying. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law came in to talk and calm me down. And in the middle of our conversation, my mom called and was very angry because the wedding planner said I hadn't agreed to any changes. I hung up because I couldn't cry or deal with them any longer. Wait, so the mom was literally like, let your sister steal your wedding?
Yeah.
Not even just like, oh, it's already bad to be like, by the way, I'm doing my wedding 2 weeks in front of yours, which is like, okay. I mean, that's bad, but whatever. But now she's like, I'm literally doing your wedding.
I'm copying your flow.
I'm
everything.
taking all of the stuff for your wedding.
Food for food.
Moving it to mine. No
Dress
longer
for dress.
yours.
Yeah.
When my fiance was asleep, I had a brilliant idea. I called my wedding planner and agreed to pay for my sister's wedding but with a twist.
Oh?
Fast forward to the wedding. My mom thanked me repeatedly and complimented me, saying I was the best twin sister that my sister could ever dream of. Yes, I let them use the venue, and I picked a different dress for her, along with new decor and food and cake, etc.
What is this twist?
Let's find out. It was a closed glass venue with a garden view just outside. It was magical, and I knew it was worth the risk.
I don't know.
I don't.
This sounds really nice.
I'm now confused. Are you
keep
having
going, keep going.
a glass church?
Yeah, you're like, I'm making it so good. That's
Cool.
the twist. It was so good.
I chose another location that was even more magical. The wedding started and everything went smoothly. They enjoyed every moment. After the ceremony, which was outside, they moved inside for the reception. I wasn't going to attend because I only paid for 2 hours and 30 minutes for the venue. There's the twist. She paid for 2.5 hours, and after that, the venue's gonna be like, all right, everybody leave.
Oh, so it's gonna make them
get everyone kicked out of their own wedding.
Okay. I don't know how. Okay, you still paid for it though.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Okay.
apparently she has the money.
Okay.
I wasn't going to attend because I only paid for 2 hours and 30 minutes of the venue. The ceremony took an hour and 30 minutes. The cake, it wasn't real cake. The food, I ordered food as if it was a kid's party. And by the way, we're throwing a party here every weekday at 3 p.m. PST when we go live on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch. Just tap our profile to join the live.
Hey, we might even be live right now, but just wait a little bit longer. I want to see what about this cake is. If it's fake, is it real cake? I don't know. I don't know.
I think what she's saying is that the wedding cake is one of those cakes where
is it real or is it not?
It's like most of it isn't real, and there's just like one small section where like the actual cake is.
Okay.
So she got like the fake cake. She probably like ordered pizza like for the reception or something
or like tapas because it's Spain. It's like
and so
tapas.
they have an hour for the reception because the ceremony took an hour and a half. So now they only have an hour to do the reception. Everyone's going to get kicked out, which is that was a tactical look.
It's funny, but
if you're going to steal my wedding, I'll let you steal it, but you only get to steal it for 2.5 hours.
Okay.
I think that was a pro move.
It's a funny move. I can see this like in a movie, but like realistic, I'm like, I would never pay for like somebody trying to steal my wedding. Like I wouldn't give him the benefit.
Yeah, but
it's like I gave you. It's like honestly, you gave them like a little. Like they actually had like a little ceremony. Like people probably came and enjoyed it and like celebrated. They probably enjoyed themselves. I don't know. We're gonna find out. I want to see.
If your twin sister has been sabotaging you for a decade,
this sounds like the nicest sabotage. Like there's like this is a sabotage. For
sure.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. It's like the perfect tactical sabotage where you're not going overboard.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
And you are you're not preventing the wedding from happening, but you are low-key ruining the wedding.
Okay.
By preventing it from being
sabotage.
longer than,
it sounds
a
like,
movie.
It sounds like still like wholehearted sabotage. It's sabotage.
You got to keep that runtime low. I kept checking the time. 2 hours, 28 minutes, 2 hours and 29 minutes, 2 hours and 30 minutes. I left a message saying they only wanted my wedding, but not the celebration afterwards. So I hope they liked it. I deleted all their contacts, blocked them on every social media platform, and changed my number. Some of my twins' friends texted me with mean messages, but I didn't care. I just ignored them and blocked anyone who defended my sister. It's been 2 years since, and I've had no contact with them, and I am now happily married to my husband. And that is the end of that story. So she literally didn't even get any of the blowback from the chaos. She just blocked everybody.
She's
and
like, here's the money. Do this. That's the time limit. Bye.
Yeah. I'm not sure what she meant when she was
I don't know what she meant. Yeah.
When she said like you only wanted my wedding but not the celebration, but I'm gonna assume that's just like a translation thing, and that was a slam dunk on the sister.
Hey, you know what?
She's like, you have fun having my wedding, but you don't get to have my celebration.
I like it. It was honestly like it wasn't that mean because you still paid for stuff.
Yeah.
You still threw like a little time gated celebration.
Yeah, you're like,
you still got food, you still got some cake, you got stuff. So honestly,
yeah, so they can't be that mad
because you wanted my wedding.
But
that was my idea of the wedding.
You were already over them, OP. Yeah. You were clearly already over them, and you had like, look, you made this play, and you're like, after I do it, I'm cutting them all off. You did it. You're happily married. We're happy for you.
And that's the end of that story, though, guys.
That is the end of that story. I'm getting another one going right now.
Yeah, we'll get that going right now. My sister wouldn't let my daughter be a flower girl. I'll never talk to her again.
You gotta stand up for your daughter.
Throw those flowers out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I, 28 female, have a sister, 26 female, who got married last month. I'm gonna be blunt. My sister has always been one of those people that has to have everything perfect to the point sometimes it was hard to be around her. But she was my little sister and I have no other siblings, so I always made excuses when she'd hurt me when I was doing the right things in her eyes. By the way, this comes from user Otro on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So I was kind of nervous when she asked me and my daughter, 4, to be bridesmaids in February because I knew she was going to be a massive bridezilla.
It's not a good sign if you're like, oh, I already know.
Like, honey, do we really want to be part of Auntie's wedding?
It's like, I don't think we want to do that.
No. Over the last few months, we've had to practice multiple dances, pay for very expensive dresses, and put up with her tantrums. I told her from the start, if she was any way nasty to my child, I wouldn't stand for it. She assured me she'd never be nasty towards her. Again, this is her favorite person in the whole world.
Foreshadowing.
Well, now her husband's little cousin, 8-ish, I think, started coming to dance practice with her mom, and my sister started to ask her to do little things like show my daughter how to throw the petals. I honestly thought she'd make them both flower girls for a while, but when she started to make my daughter sit out and have the little girl do her poem, I knew it was going to happen, but I prayed I was wrong.
Dang it. OP's daughter is getting recast? Messed up.
You're getting recasted, girl. Sorry. You just didn't fit the part. You didn't
cut it.
You didn't make the cut.
Not everyone's cut out for this kind of business.
I invited her out to a coffee a few weeks before the wedding and asked her what was going on. She told me she was glad I brought it up because she was looking for the right time. Apparently, my 4-year-old wasn't doing everything right, and she was afraid she was gonna mess up her vision by saying the wrong thing or not doing the dance right on the day.
She's 4.
She's 4 years old.
She's not going to do it perfectly. That's not why you have a flower girl.
It's not supposed to be perfect. I mean, yes, I know you want your day to be perfect, but
it's supposed to be a little 4-year-old being cute.
It's so cute.
Flowers.
And if they mess up,
it's cute.
It's cute. It's not gonna. This is not like make or break wedding. Yeah. Man. I told her she was doing a pretty good job, and everyone was always praising her. Sister giggled and said, "It's not their day now, is it?"
Oh my God. I just imagine her going, it's not their day now, is it?
It's not their day. So it's not up to us what's good enough for her wedding. I asked her straight up, did she think her niece wasn't good enough to be in her wedding?
No.
She replied with, not as something big as a flower girl, but to attend.
That's like the flower girl is like the easiest part. They just throw flowers, girl.
Dude, again, when the little kids run around and they screw up, it's cute. It's gonna happen. It makes everyone go, aww.
Yeah.
Gross. I hate how we did that. I asked her how I was gonna break it to my daughter, who's so excited about being in the wedding. She just told me to figure it out.
Your sister sucks.
I told her I'd give her a day to rethink her decision. If not, we wouldn't be attending, not speaking to her ever again, then left.
Yeah, put your foot down. Don't let her walk all over your daughter.
Well, 2 days went by, so I couldn't put it off any longer. I broke the news to my child. Even though I tried my hardest and sugarcoated as much as possible, the news still broke her heart. She cried herself to sleep. So did I and my husband.
Aww. That's so sad. She was looking forward to being the flower girl, and she just had her dreams ripped from her.
That's so sad and dumb.
Your sister sucks, man.
Well, after a week when I was a no-show for anything, my sister started to panic and started to get everyone to talk to me, even drop off gifts for my daughter.
No. Too late.
When I told them why, a good number of our family, including bridesmaids, dropped out.
Yes. They're standing on business. No one wants to, hurt your daughter.
No, it's a 4-year-old.
Except for your sister, yes.
For freak's sake, man. We ended up going for a few weeks away with no phones. When we came back, my sister had sent me multiple letters and emails apologizing. Her in-laws and husband have called me an a-hole for doing what I did. Edit. Brother-in-law saw this post and told my sister, who cried reading all your comments.
Good.
How do I know? Because they showed up at my job knowing I wouldn't want a scene. They begged me to delete the post before people they know see it and kept apologizing. Finally, my sister said she might be pregnant.
I don't care. I literally don't care.
Don't worry. When your daughter or son, whoever, wants to be the ring bearer for, I don't know, you already have a husband, so it's not going to work. Never mind. Cut that out.
But you don't deserve it.
You don't deserve it. I said, even if she is, pregnancy doesn't wash away all the crappy things she's done, and I hope her husband's siblings never treat her child the way she treated mine, because I don't plan to be a part of her life.
Damn. Yeah, well, I mean, her sister was pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she doesn't seem
It's
like she
not
really
their
apologized.
wedding, is it?
Yeah.
It's not their day. She bursted into tears saying she was sorry and she loves my daughter. I told her to leave before I called security, and her husband tried to talk to me alone because I was making her so upset, and everyone was cold towards them because of me. I told them no. Everyone was cold because Cinderella and Prince Charming forgot that they were treating everyone like crap, that no one wanted to be in their happy ever after. They didn't like my mocking tone and raised their voices at me. My boss told them to leave. Who knows the situation and has a 5-year-old herself, so she's on my side.
I would hope. It would be kind of crazy if your boss was like, nah, I'm kind of siding with your sister who I've never met before.
No, I was going to say, I think everyone's on your side.
Yeah.
There's no one other than...
I mean, she bullied a 4-year-old.
She bullied a 4-year-old, made a 4-year-old cry. She just ruined her... Because every little girl's like, I want to be the flower girl.
Yeah, and then everyone dropped out of her wedding. It's on her.
That's what you get. My sister's mother-in-law reached out to my parents asking for everyone to meet up on neutral terms so we can all work out our differences. I'm gonna go to this dinner party because I want to hear their story and officially tell them, leave me alone. I will update you guys. Important edit? Ooh. My sister's photographer saw this post and reached out to me on here.
How's everyone finding this post?
Yeah, this must be a really small town. Or again, everyone just spread the post. She knew my full name and she gave me her Instagram to confirm. This goes deeper than my daughter not dancing. Apparently, she overheard my sister's mother-in-law and aunt-in-law talking in the bathroom. They used slurs against my daughter and husband.
Oh, it's racism. Oh, there it is.
I guess it's all excused now. All's good.
Oh, that's why she didn't want the freaking 4-year-old in her wedding, because she was a racist. I hate her. Literally never talk to her again.
They called me the black man's whore.
Your sister is the devil.
Well, that wasn't
Or
the sister.
cloud.
The sister didn't say that.
Oh.
This was the mother-in-law and the aunt-in-law. So
Oh my
that
God.
the brother-in-law or brother-in-law, the new husband,
Yeah.
his family said this.
Well, I wonder if they were the ones who were trying to like say,
I
oh, we don't
think
want her to be the flower girl.
Yeah.
Which still makes the sister the worst.
The worst. The photographer said they were both wasted, but brother-in-law also made jokes around my sister earlier in the day, which she smiled at.
Oh my God. Disgusting.
She also thinks my family members heard it, and it's the reason they dropped out.
That does make sense. I actually was kind of wondering because I was like, oh, it doesn't. I don't know if it necessarily makes sense for people to drop out because a 4-year-old can't be the flower girl. But this makes a lot more sense.
This makes more sense.
If they were like,
but still,
they're being racist.
Still crappy human beings. So yeah, my daughter wasn't a flower girl because unlike me, her aunt or the other flower girl, she doesn't have blue eyes and blonde hair.
Yeah, this family sucks.
If you're reading this, Sarah and Frank, F you and your family. My child is too good to be around trash like you.
Yes.
Both stay the F away from us. And if anyone in my family knew the real story and didn't tell me, F you too.
Mm-hmm.
Edit number 4. Thanks everyone for the love and support, but especially thank you to the photographer who came forward. Thank you so much for bringing this to my attention before I let them back into our lives. You're a real one. Edit 5. So I thought I'd answer a lot of questions that kept getting asked because I'm tired and will be going to bed soon. My parents are fully on my side.
Good.
So are multiple other family members. The ones that aren't have been cut off. My daughter doesn't know the full story, but as a treat for all of us, we plan to take her to Disneyland for Christmas. As for my sister, some people have mentioned she might be in an abusive relationship. Well, her husband is from old money, and his family is very well connected in England, which is something she always wanted. So I don't know if she is in a bad relationship and afraid. It's up to my husband to forgive her, not me. I don't know if anyone should be forgiving her.
Yeah.
But
we're not looking for forgiveness. We're just looking for you guys to join us live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST on YouTube. Just tap our profile.
Just tap her profile. My brain went
kaput. That was a hard one.
Did you see me just go purr?
Yeah, no, that was a hard one.
There's another relevant update and looks like we're continuing of the list. Back to the story. Again, so this edit. You can post this wherever you like. Please don't message me again, and I will not give up the photographer's information because she wants to stay anonymous. Another point, I found out 3 family members knew, including a bridesmaid that dropped out, knew. I found out 3 family members.
Up.
Yeah,
That's messed up that they didn't say anything.
Yeah. I found out 3 family members knew, including a bridesmaid that dropped out knew. Okay. I've seen a lot of people making fun of the fact me and my husband cried ourselves to sleep that night my daughter found out.
What? But
We
it's
didn't-
like you're just like your parent and you're seeing your child,
seeing your child sad.
just really
It made you
sad.
sad. It made me sad. It
Yeah.
made Sophia sad. If it made you guys sad, I mean, that's,
If it made you guys sad, put in the chat.
We didn't cry about her not being a flower girl, nor did we cry while she was awake. We cried because our child was extremely hurt, and there's no worse feeling than your child thinking they're not good enough for someone they love.
Aww. I hate this sister.
I hate the sister. For the commenter who was extremely nasty about my husband crying, a father's love is equal to a mother's. Men do and are allowed to have emotions. Just do better.
Hot take. Men have emotions.
Yeah.
Hot take.
I have cried before.
Men cry more, men. You know what? I talk to a lot of men and they're like, I haven't cried in months. And I'm like, I cried yesterday. Cry.
She's being real. She did cry yesterday.
Well, no,
Tears of joy.
when did I cry?
I don't know.
I didn't actually cry yesterday, but
I guarantee you the commenter was a man.
yeah.
A trillion
Probably.
% was a man.
My friend said I was too fat to be her maid of honor. So I asked for all my payments back.
Good. She does deserve your money.
Not at all.
Only your ire.
Indeed, your ire and your spite. My 27 female best friend, Claire, 28 female, is getting married in a few weeks. We've been best friends since high school, and when she asked me to be her maid of honor, I was beyond excited. I wanted to give her the most amazing experience possible, so I went all out. By the way, this comes from user telephoneconstant270 on the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So I helped plan everything from her bridal shower to the bachelorette party, which was a small weekend trip for her and the bridal party. I also paid for decorations, party favors, and even chipped in for some unexpected costs because I wanted to make things special for her. Altogether, I spent several $1,000s,
Whoa.
money my husband and I had budgeted for because I thought this was something worth investing in. Claire has been like a sister to me, and I thought being her maid of honor was an honor. I didn't mind the expense, even though it was a bit tight for us financially. I just wanted her to have the perfect wedding experience.
Yeah.
So that's exactly how you should be. It's their wedding. Make it great.
Yeah.
Here's where it all started to go wrong.
No.
Oh boy. I'm 4 months pregnant.
And you're doing all that for her?
Whoa.
That's a angel move. That's an angel friend right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My husband and I found out a couple months ago, and when I told Claire, she congratulated me, but didn't seem overly excited. I brushed it off because I figured she was just busy with wedding planning, but since then, she started acting distant. She'd exclude me from conversations about the wedding and would make passive comments about how hard it is to coordinate everything when people are distracted by personal things. I started to feel like I was walking on eggshells, but I didn't say anything because I didn't want to add to her stress. Then, a few days ago, Claire sat me down and dropped a bombshell. She told me she didn't think I should be in the wedding anymore because I'm, quote, getting too fat and she doesn't want me in the pictures.
Okay, the fact that OP's literally pregnant. OP's literally pregnant!
Your pregnant best friend is organizing your entire wedding
And you're like,
spending
oh, you're too
thousands
fat?
of dollars.
I'm sorry, regardless of what her weight is anyway, even if she wasn't pregnant, you shouldn't be commenting on it. But the fact that you're telling her that she's gaining too much weight when she's literally growing a human inside of her
Exactly.
is insane.
You're absurd.
You're insane.
Yeah. We're flinging you off of the
Yeah,
planet.
you're
We're
a
getting
sun.
you into the giant
Son.
trebuchet.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you're in the sun.
Yeah. Could get
Be
worse.
thankful because it could be worse.
You better be happy about that.
So she said that she was replacing me as maid of honor with another friend, and I was completely stunned. I asked if this was because I'm pregnant, and she said that it wasn't personal, but that she has a specific vision for her wedding, and I no longer fit into it. She tried to frame it like it was about aesthetic consistency, but how can that not feel personal? It's like, yeah, it's your aesthetic. Your
She's like,
pregnant aesthetic is the one we can't have.
Ooh, yeah, we have kind of like a no pregnant people allowed at my wedding.
Unbelievable.
You could you're allowed to have an aesthetic at your wedding, but when it comes comes to how your friends, like your friends' bodies, but also just like hair type in general. Like you can't tell people to change how they look.
It's ridiculous.
For your wedding. You can say you have to wear this dress or like this color dress, but that's about it.
Did this person also forget Photoshop exists? If this was really that big of a deal for
Okay,
you?
that would be crazy if she photoshopped the baby belly out.
That would be
insane.
That would be less insane than excluding your maid of honor after she spent thousands of dollars to plan your entire experience.
No, I think that would be insane if she was like
of course it would be insane. This person is insane for doing this.
I'm trying to think of a relevant thing for you. Like, imagine you lost an arm.
Right, I was literally I was thinking that exact same.
Imagine you lost an arm and you were like, hey, I'm going to I've been putting all this effort into being the best groomsman for my best friend. And your best friend comes up to you and he's like, hey, I don't know if you can be in the wedding because we have kind of like an aesthetic thing.
Yeah, we kind of have a two-armed aesthetic going on at the wedding. And
you're like, oh no. And then he's like, you know what? Like, no, be in the wedding.
Yeah.
And months later, you get the pictures back. It's a photoshopped arm. That would be crazy.
It's all bad. Claire does not deserve OP whatsoever.
Take your money back, girl. Take your money back.
You deserve it. So OP says, I told her I was incredibly hurt and disappointed, but if she didn't want me in the wedding, I wouldn't attend at all. I also handed her all the receipts for the events and expenses I'd covered, totaling several $1,000s, and told her that since I was no longer maid of honor, I expected her and her fiance to reimburse me. I explained that I'd only spent that money because of the role I was playing in the wedding, and if I wasn't part of it anymore, it wasn't fair for me to shoulder those costs. Claire flipped out.
Ugh, of course she did.
Typical Claire.
I knew you would, Claire, because you suck.
Yeah, she does.
Devil's spawn, Claire.
Stinky Claire.
Mm-hmm.
She accused me of being petty and selfish and said I was trying to ruin her big day. Whoa! The amount of lack of self-awareness in that sentence is making me malfunction. She told me that it was quote-unquote tacky to ask for my money back and that those expenses were my responsibility as the maid of honor. I reminded her that I'm not the maid of honor anymore. She made that decision. And therefore those costs are no longer mine to cover.
Snaps. Take her down. Slam dunk her. Like you're in the basketball league.
In the basketball league that will remain nameless because we don't do free sponsors here.
Yes, that's why I didn't say it. Not because I didn't remember the name.
If League Commissioner Adam Silver wants to hit us up, we can talk.
Yeah.
So since then, Claire, her fiance, and even some of her family members have been blowing up my phone with calls and texts. They're calling me a bad friend, saying I'm being vindictive, and accusing me of trying to sabotage the wedding.
There's no way they know the full story.
Yeah.
I bet Claire went to the family and was like, she's just randomly took out all the money from the wedding.
I don't understand. She says she's not going to be maid of honor anymore.
She says she hates me.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's Claire.
Claire.
Claire. One of her family members even said, it's just pregnancy hormones making me act this way, and I should calm down and let it go. My husband has been incredibly supportive.
As he should.
And says I did the right thing. He pointed out that I've gone above and beyond for Claire, and that the way she treated me, especially knowing I'm pregnant, is cruel and unacceptable. He agrees that I shouldn't be out thousands of dollars for a wedding I'm not even attending. Still, the constant messages and accusations have made me second guess myself. I feel humiliated and hurt by someone I thought was my best friend, but I also feel like I'm standing up for myself by asking for reimbursement and refusing to let her treat me this way. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole? Should I have just let it go and written off the money, or am I justified in asking for repayment and skipping the wedding entirely?
You're not the a-hole.
Absolutely not. In fact, I would actually say that you should go, if they don't pay you back,
Yeah.
it's like if there's any legal recourse you can make that they stole this money from you because it was given under the context, the pretext that you were the maid of honor, and then they were just like, by the way, you're not allowed to be pregnant, so, and then you're like, all right, well, if you don't want a pregnant person there, I'm just not going to go.
Yeah.
I don't know. You've done nothing wrong here.
I mean, like, going through the court stuff would be pretty tricky, especially because $1,000 is not, like, maybe you could do small courts, like,
well, it was
small
plural.
claims.
Thousands.
You're right.
That's the other part of why Claire, this is absurd for Claire to be like, yeah, I know you literally just spent racks on my actual wedding that's not yours, by the way, but you're pregnant.
That's true. If it's like multiple thousands of dollars, maybe you could try and do small claims or something.
Yeah, I mean, but hopefully it won't get to that point, and somebody in Claire's life will recognize when the truth, because clearly everyone's been told a lie. When it comes to light, they'll be like, "Hey, Claire, you're being a monster. Why don't you go and give her money back?"
Of you told her that she was gaining weight.
Yeah, no, it's absurd.
She's gaining a baby.
Claire really said, there are no fatty boombatties allowed at my wedding. It's
crazy.
like, no, I'm pregnant. I am fully pregnant.
Full pregnant.
Come on.
And also, again, like, literally, even if she was gaining weight, that's your best friend.
Exactly.
You just spent thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Like, get out of here.
Update. Hello, everyone. This will be my only update, hopefully. Thank you so much for the support and advice. It truly helped me through this difficult time. After I stood firm on being reimbursed for the expenses I covered as maid of honor and made it clear I was prepared to take the matter to small claims court, things escalated.
Ooh.
Claire and her family kept messaging me trying to guilt me, but I didn't budge. I decided to send the Reddit post to Claire's family to give them the full context, and it seemed to get through to them. Shortly after, Claire's father reached out. He was polite, apologetic, and agreed to pay me back in full. We found the voice of reason.
I wonder if, like, how did OP say that? She said I reached out to the father.
She sent the whole Reddit post to the family.
Okay, I missed that. Yeah,
he was like, maybe this will give you a little
and he was
context.
Like, ooh, Claire, not looking too good.
Yeah, then
here you go.
He reached out directly. It was like, hey, the money, I will give it to you.
Yeah,
so, true to his word, he reimbursed me for everything. While I appreciated his willingness to resolve the issue, it didn't change how I felt about Claire or how deeply hurt I was by her actions.
Well, I mean, she didn't refund the money. Her dad did.
No, not at all. And I think, we kind of skirted over that. It's got to be brutal to find out someone you considered your best friend is now trying to pull this on you.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Like, you were about to be her maid of honor, and that's, that's what she's pulling.
Yeah. After receiving payment, I blocked Claire, her fiance, and her entire family. It's incredibly sad to lose a friendship I believed would last forever, but I now see that someone who could treat me that way was never truly my friend. It's painful, but I'm focusing on those who genuinely care about me. My amazing husband, who has been my rock, and our growing family. And by the way, you can join our growing family every weekday at 3 p.m. PST when we go live on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch. All you have to do is tap on our profile on any one of those beautiful platforms, and you're in.
And make our family bigger.
So, before we finish up the story, I think it was pretty poignant when she brought up, it's like she blocked her, she blocked the whole family. She's kind of doing a clean cut and moving on with her life. And it's like, after somebody really does show their true colors to you like this, like, there is little to no explanation outside of like, no, I fully, like, I don't even know. I was on autopilot. I blacked out for an entire month, and I just came back into my body. I don't know what. I was possessed by a spirit of some kind who didn't like pregnant women.
Yeah, there's like so few excuses for this behavior.
It's pretty much the only one I can think of right now. Possessed by anti-pregnancy ghost. Yeah. But let's be real, that's not happening. So sometimes, even though it's the bitter pill to swallow, you are going to be better off over time because you don't want someone like this.
And your life is going to be commenting on your body.
They're not in your corner. They're supposed to be your best friend, and they clearly don't even appreciate how good of a best friend you were.
Exactly.
At all.
No appreciation. You don't need that person in your life. And you're going to have you have your husband, you got your baby on the way, and that's all. And now you got your money back. So wins a win.
To everyone who commented and supported me, thank you again. Your encouragement gave me the strength to stand up for myself and do what was right. I realize I got out easy from this hellish situation, and I will now leave it all behind me as I'm ready to move forward and focus on my pregnancy, my husband, and our baby.
Yes, which is what I said.
Indeed. Here's to new beginnings, better friendships, and prioritizing the people who truly deserve your love. Thank you, and I wish you all the best. And we do too, OP, because that is the end of that story.
A friend's bridesmaid can't stop commenting about my body. We left dinner early.
I'm out of here.
What is this?
Sorry.
Keep your opinions to yourself. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything. Names are fake. It all started when my boyfriend's childhood friend asked my boyfriend to be a groomsman. This friend also invited my boyfriend to his joint bachelor/bachelorette party. The couple was even kind enough to invite me too, even though I wasn't in the bridal party. It was going to be a week-long beach trip with the bridesmaids and groomsmen. By the way, this comes from Few Signature 1939 on the OK Storytime subreddit. So now I'm not shy by any means, but it can be hard to meet a new group of people for the first time on a vacation where they all know each other. So about a month before the trip, I made my own bikini that was white with lace and pink bows. I was so excited to wear it and knew it would give me the confidence I needed to be scantily clad around girls I didn't know. On day one, my boyfriend and I get in late and go right to bed. The group left early the next morning for the beach, and we were about 30 minutes behind them. I am a makeup girly, always have been, so I get made up within reason to go to the beach. I popped on my new homemade bikini and was looking good, baby. Woo! Skin was glowing, body was bodying, so on. When we arrived, I saw that there were only 3 girls, the bride and her 2 friends. By the way, I only met the bride a couple of times and knew her to be a shy but very sweet girl. I say hi, then set my stuff down to take off my cover-up. When I remove my top, I hear, "Wow, look at her," from across the circle. Then I hear a different voice say, "So petite." I'm 5'6" with a ginormous booty. No, I don't work out. I just eat a lot of French fries.
Wow, that's the dream workout routine. I just eat fries and have a large bottom.
So I assume the girls are talking about someone else nearby. I then hear the first voice say, "I wish I had her body," to which the second voice responds, "I don't. I'm glad God blessed me with these big old bazongas." Who are these people?
Where's Sam? His favorite word just got said. Is he going to sprint in here now?
Freaking crazy.
I mean, people talk like that, though. It's like...
No, but to talk about that in front of someone you don't know.
Was it... I mean, like, truly, like, I mean...
Like, you're there.
To be, like, direct face-to-face, like, that's one thing. But maybe these people just don't have the, like, wherewithal to know, like, that person is within earshot. Not saying that toxic talk is, like, a good thing, but it is, like, a fact. Like, people mouth off because... And most of the time it's because they're insecure, like, and they're just trying to take the attention away from them because they don't want anyone to pry into their stuff.
Yeah. No, it's also just like really uncomfortable, I think, to hear, "Oh, I wish I had her body." That's already kind of an uncomfortable thing to hear when like someone's commenting about your...
I like that's a compliment.
I think it's a little bit uncomfortable.
I mean...
I think it can be because it like...
I think the way that OP phrased that, where it was like, what, body was bodying, like, I feel like she'd be like, "Thank you."
Okay, I think that personally, I think a better compliment is like, "Oh my God, like, you look great. Like, your bathing suit looks really cute." Like, something along the lines of, "You look great. You look really fit. You're looking healthy, blah, 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 blah." But to say, "I wish I had that person's body," especially in front of them, it's kind of icky to me sometimes because it's the underlying thing is I'm insecure about or like I don't like a part of myself, and it's like it's putting that on the other person.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's just one comment, and then the other comment is even worse because it's saying I don't want your body.
Yeah.
And then it's so
yeah.
I know what you're thinking. There's no way someone said that IRL, but they did. Oh, they did say big old bazongas.
Big old bazongas.
That's a quote. Of course, I giggle to myself because I have the humor of a 14-year-old boy.
Hey, join the club. Let's go.
I go to sit down and immediately bond with all 3 girls over a TV show. But not even 5 minutes into the conversation, the big bazonga bridesmaid, Kaylee, interrupts us and asks what cup size I am.
All right, now it's getting weird.
It was already weird. This is even weirder.
Yeah.
I choke at a laugh and say, I'm a 34B. Everyone's looking at me. I'm literally sitting in the center of 8 dudes I don't know, turning beet red because I have just met all of these people mere moments ago. Kaylee, who's 29, by the way, says, I don't even think I can conceptualize what a B cup really looks like.
Are you
literally are looking at them?
Yeah, are you okay? Are you
blind?
Hello? Are you blind? Hi, I'm right in front of you. What's going on? What's going on here?
And I'm thinking, what the heck does that mean? But I say, well, you don't have to. Here they are. And gesture to what I'm working with. Then her sister chimes in and says, oh, but it must be so nice. No back pain. I can tell she's trying to make the conversation less weird. So I say, yeah, that's true, but I wouldn't mind filling out a dress every once in a while. The group laughs. I manage to make friendly, polite, small talk with them throughout the day until Kaylee turns to me again and asks what I do for a living. I tell her I'm a writer. I work as a ghostwriter of sorts on nonfiction speeches, articles, stories professionally. She says, okay, but do you read though? How else does one become a writer, I wonder? But I kept it cool and say, of course, I love to read. You? She says that she's read 70 books already that year. I'm impressed. I mostly read very stuffy literature, so it takes me a while to get through a book.
She's reading Green Eggs and Ham, red fish, blue fish,
the
all
Very
the
Hungry
doctor.
Caterpillar.
I actually only read books written by doctors.
Yeah.
One doctor, Dr. Seuss. Yes.
It's kind of where I draw the line.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably read about 10 books so far that year and told her as much. Boy, did she love that. This is where it gets juicy. Why is this girl so threatened by OP?
Because she probably thinks she looks really good.
Yeah, and she's like, I need to take her down, which is so embarrassing. Like, so embarrassing for you.
I feel like my equivalent of this is like if like there's a guy who like makes like a really good joke, but it's like I feel like I made the joke first and then they get the laugh and then I'm like, all right, buddy, let's see how funny you really are.
Let's see what you can take.
But I haven't done that in years. In fact, I'm usually the other guy and then someone else gets mad and I'm like, I don't care. It's okay, buddy. Like,
though, if I ever repeat a joke, I'm like, I didn't come with that. That was them.
Yeah,
I always do that.
True.
Gotta give credit.
True.
The whole trip, one of the groomsmen was flirting with me relentlessly while her boyfriend's there.
That's crazy vibes at
Yeah.
this
Beach
function.
trip. My boyfriend was getting jealous, and he's not the jealous type. This groomsman was always trying to get me alone, ordering for me at restaurants, acting like he was my partner, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's not even like getting jealous. That's just like, dude, that's like, stop.
Yeah, it's just halt.
Meanwhile, Kaylee was flirting with my boyfriend. I would not want to be like, why are your friends with these people?
I don't know.
'Cause that's kind of a red flag, honestly. Yes, my boyfriend's handsome, but he hates attention and refused to engage in her flirty behavior. It was annoying, but I was not intimidated by Kaylee in the slightest. So I let it go. On the last day, we decided to go to dinner. Once we were already ready, we split up and took different cars. I'm a very type B person and couldn't decide if I needed a bra or no bra for my dress. So I brought one with me in case. I was not trying to have any wardrobe malfunctions in front of my man's friends. On the ride over to the restaurant, I'm sitting in the car talking to someone in the back seat when I notice my right boob is hanging out of my dress. I gasp and apologize.
I'm sorry.
But the person in the back says he didn't notice. My boyfriend, however, is grinning ear to ear, having gotten a sneak peek. Why didn't he say anything?
Well, he was just
like,
enjoying the moment.
I'm really in the moment. Luckily, I had a bra in my bag because I'm a genius. I discreetly slip the bra on underneath my dress, and we all go out to meet the others. At the bar, the girls are all talking about the fun time they had at the beach. Then Kaylee says, Claire, I have to know, what makeup do you use? You swim and it doesn't even come off. I told her the brand, L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte. Oh, I can't say that. I told her the brand, unnamed, if you're wondering. She says, but like you seem to wear so much foundation. I'm just surprised it looks so good after getting wet.
Oh my God. Girl, I'm not even tuned into makeup, but come on. Shut up! I know what you're trying to say.
I hate her.
Shut up.
I hate her. Again, she's saying this in front of like 15 people who are all listening because she's loud AF. I want to ask her if she's ever heard of setting spray, but I just shrug instead. She won't shut up and says, I never wear makeup. I just don't feel like I need it. I can see a foundation line on her jaw. Lies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Lies.
Yeah, but I bet you OP didn't say, oh, really? Is that a foundation line
Yeah.
on your jaw? She just said, oh, okay, cool.
Oh, wait, there's even more. Glittery gold eyeshadow, mascara, even lip color. But what do I know? She must have those naturally. Once the table's ready, she starts talking again about her bazongas.
Wow.
This time, I was going to go braless in this dress, but the girls needed support. I told her it's probably for the best because I'd had a nip slip in the car, which for the record was my first and only ever nip slip. I told her it was crazy. I looked down and noticed my boob had flown out. Okay, maybe flown was a strong word, but I was grasping at straws to relate to this chick. I honestly probably would not have told this story to this girl.
I like the use of
Flown out.
That is funny.
Whoop.
Flown. Like it had wings.
Yeah. Sometimes they just escape.
Whoa! Get back!
How'd you get here?
Like you're like reel it in like it's on a kite string. Like, I'm sorry.
Kaylee,
I'm sorry. It's just that was too much. That was too much.
you're really into the visualizations of these things today.
I'm. Yeah. Yeah.
Kaylee turned to me and said in the loudest voice possible, "Your boob flew out! I find that hard to believe." The table went silent.
Mm-hmm.
My boyfriend froze. We all just looked at her. No one said a word. But you know what word I have to say? You can join us live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. Just tap our profile.
That's right. That's all it takes.
Probably live now.
One tap, you can fly over there.
You can fly right over. And there is a little bit left, but
I want the boyfriend.
what do you think? What's gonna happen?
I want the next boyfriend to be like, or the next moment, to be the boyfriend standing up and just being like, I like them a lot.
my girlfriend's bazongas.
Don't talk about those bazongas like that in front of me. Am I doing it right, babe?
Keep my girlfriend's bazongas out of your mouth.
Please, that's my thing.
That's my things.
Okay.
And they're my mouth.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think the good news is that even though this is clearly like she already knows how to go about this because
Yeah.
a person who tries to like just get at you like that and just always has a little
They're just
thing
looking
they
for
want
a
to show to you,
rise.
just you completely they go low, you go high,
You say, oh yeah, I know it's crazy, but you know it happened.
and they just keep digging that hole. Everyone just starts going, why is she so annoying? And every little
Yeah,
thing that she
suck.
says is she's just nag. It's like,
No, people who are horrible, like when you continue to go high and they keep going low, people notice.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do anything. They're digging their own grave.
exactly.
But there's a little bit left in the story.
Okay.
After a very painful 20 to 30 seconds, I laughed to try to play it off, and slowly conversations resumed.
Wow.
My boyfriend was horrified, and we decided to leave the dinner early, but not before Kaylee called the bride out for wearing non-nude underwear under a light-colored dress, something none of us would have ever noticed. Why is she now calling out the bride?
Because now she's like, my plan's failing.
She's like,
I know what'll make everyone like me. The bride's doing things wrong.
The bride looked really embarrassed. It was sad.
Oh, come on.
Fast forward to the next time I saw the group at the wedding. Kaylee took my phone from my purse and shared my location with her, then followed herself on Instagram from my profile.
Did she just commit a crime?
That seems like a crime.
I think technically you giving yourself someone else's location without their permission is like,
That's crazy.
you have crimed, I
That's
think.
crazy. Oh my God.
Lock her up!
Now I'm curious. Has anyone met a pick-me girl that is one of the bazonga obsessed variety? Is this a mental illness? Let me know. I will never go to a joint bachelor/bachelorette party again. Dang. Yeah. These people suck.
Yeah, you don't.
Suck.
Hey, and exactly. You don't even. Oh, that was a bad idea from the very beginning. A
Yeah.
joint bachelorette party.
Well, I think it can be fun if you have cool friends.
Sure, but it's like sometimes there's boys' night and sometimes there's girls' night, right? You don't usually take the boys to girls' night. You don't usually take the girls to boys' night.
I think, but I do think it depends on the dynamic of your friendship because I mean, like I hang out with a lot of men.
No, of
and I feel like
course.
we have,
No.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's
No, but
anything.
yeah.
But sometimes
I think it depends
it's
on your
like,
dynamic because
you know.
sometimes you have separate friend groups, and I feel
Mhm.
like that's more the vibe. It's less like boys, girls. It's like these are my friends and these are her friends, and we're gonna have a night where we celebrate with our friends, you know?
Yeah.
Rather than
Yeah.
like combine everyone.
I guess a bachelorette party is. I'm more thinking in the context of like, yeah, it's like everyone's
The
got like a
boys.
girlfriend,
Yeah.
and it's like we're just like all
Yeah.
vibing out doing boy stuff like digging holes and finding
Digging
bugs.
holes on the beach.
Which is also completely open to any other gender on
So true.
Earth under the entire spectrum. Everyone
Only
can enjoy
boys'
digging
activities.
holes and finding bugs.
I freaking love digging holes and finding bugs.
I like finding bugs until they find me. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I find you. You don't find me. I find you.
My aunt demanded I cover her expenses for my wedding. or she'd boycott my wedding.
She's just gonna be out there with a sign like, "This wedding stinks."
Yeah, this is unfair. Don't go in there. I'm going to give everyone different names in the story. So to give a bit of background, I, 22 female, was born in the Netherlands and my entire family still lives there. Kroners. When I was 20 years old, I did an internship in the USA, North Carolina. Here, I met the love of my life, my Lommel, and after finishing my studies, I moved back to live with him. Things moved pretty fast. He is my soulmate. It took him only a year before he proposed to me, making me more sure about staying in the United States. His family is amazingly supportive, and I have a great relationship with them. By the way, this comes from Petty Hattie on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So now the story comes. Buckle up. It's not a short one. Our wedding was going to be pretty big and absolutely beautiful. This was mostly thanks to my PIO, parents-in-law.
I guess that would be parents.
We're going with that. They're hellbound on paying for the wedding expenses, which my now husband, 23 male, and I obviously don't mind. Let's just say my husband, Damien, and I didn't marry because we were able to afford it, but we both have well-paying jobs, but not enough to pay for this type of wedding. The only things we paid for ourselves were small things we wanted and didn't want my in-laws to pay for. One of the things I felt a bit guilty about is the fact that my family and friends from the Netherlands would have to pay at least 1,000 euros, which is probably like 1,200 USD, something like that, to get a ticket here and back. Then they also have to get a place to stay for a night. I paid for the flight and a hotel for my father, his wife, my 11-year-old stepsister, and my 2-year-old half-sister. I didn't want them to have to pay for this. Then I also bought first-class tickets for my grandparents, who have been my bonus parents, really, which makes sense. She didn't have to pay for the wedding. I love it. Especially my grandma has been the mother I never really had to me. That was going to be it. The people closest to me, I would pay for. I paid for first-class tickets because my grandfather absolutely hates flying. I also invited my father's younger sister, Tina, and her family, 4 in total, my father's older brother, James, and his family, 6 people in total, and my mother's youngest sister, Isa, and her family, 4 in total. Now Tina and her family are doing pretty well for themselves. So does Inya. But my uncle James and his wife, Audrey, are not that wealthy. They work a lot. Whenever one is home, the other goes to work, and they're rarely both at home at the same time. This they do to save a bit of money so they can do something fun with the whole family on the breaks from school. They would have to pay at least 6,000 euros for only the flights to attend the wedding with the kids.
Okay, so 1,000 euros is like $1,041.
Which is way better. That's what I was going to interrupt you. Where I was going to be like, it's also your alert that the euro is weaker than I've ever seen it in my lifetime.
Wow. So 6,000 euros is $6,243.
Yeah, but it's $6,000 for just flights. That's
just flights.
So much.
That's
for travel.
tough. And it's like, it's not your daughter's wedding. Then they did not pay for hotels, outfits, and a wedding gift. That's all still left to be covered.
Yeah.
They really wished they didn't have to, but they came to me and told me about this and that they might not be able to come after all. I really wanted them to be there, all of them. So I told them that I would pay for half of the expenses. And if that wasn't enough, I would help out more. I didn't need a wedding gift. I just wanted them there and my 4 cousins. They agreed with this, and I went on planning my wedding with my now husband and sister-in-law. 2 days later, I got a call from Tina. I pick up thinking that this is just going to be a nice call, but that couldn't be further from the truth. She told me she didn't know I was paying for my family members' flights and accommodations and what she was going to get from me. I never thought of even asking them since they're pretty much loaded and take vacations that cost 5 times more than this trip 3 times a year. She was very demanding of me to pay part since I wasn't paying at least half of her brother's expenses. I tried to explain to her that this was already going to get me far out of my budget, but she insisted I treat her the same as I treated her brother, and so I gave in at the end and wish I didn't. So to avoid any more confrontation, I called my aunt from my mother's side, Isa, and explained what was going on and that if they needed help with the expenses, I would help them. OP, stop.
Yeah. That's like irresponsible at that point.
I thought that maybe this was much more expensive than I thought for them and too much to ask of my family. Isa immediately shut me down and told me that she would not accept any money from me and that she wanted me to worry about my wedding instead. That's what you say. That's what you say, ladies and gentlemen.
It's the blueprint right there.
She's doing very well for herself, but not even close to how good Tina's doing. So even the less wealthy person is like, shut up. I'm not taking your money. You focus on making the best wedding of your life. Worry about that. I'll worry about Yes, beautiful.
Say less, babe.
Now, I finally thought the drama was over. James asked for only 3,500 euros. He booked a crappy hotel, 2 rooms as it was cheaper than 1 big room. It was located in a shady neighborhood, but they didn't want me to have to pay too much. They made me pay less than half. Tina, on the other hand, our richest auntie Tina. See, our broke uncle James wanted 3,500, right? I got a bill for 6,000 euros.
Tina!
What are you doing? And she was being generous because she made me pay less than half. Oh, Tina's balling out. She got first class tickets in a 4-star hotel. She wanted a 5-star hotel, but didn't want to make it too expensive.
Too expensive?
Tina! This was the last drop for both Damien and me, and he decided to call her for me. At this point, I was crying and panicking because I could not afford it and low-key felt betrayed. Damien called Tina and told her we weren't going to pay for any of her expenses.
Yes!
There we go. They can pay for it themselves, and we don't tolerate being misused like this. Tina went crazy. She demanded we pay or else she wouldn't come at all. She told us she wasn't going to pay this much for a wedding that was going to end in divorce anyways because we decided to get married this fast.
Oh, wow. Oh, we totally want the person who thinks we're going to get divorced and who is objectively awful at our wedding.
It sounds like Tina not coming. Amazing.
What do you mean?
Tina not
This
going
is
to the wedding.
Tina's wedding.
You're right.
This is really Tina's wedding, guys.
You're right. What am I thinking over here? I told her that she didn't have to come at all, but my heart broke because of one thing, her daughter. You see, Tina has a daughter named Mila, 10 female. She is very special to me and always has been. Ever since she was born, we've had a very special bond and I wanted her there. When Mila found out about the flight and the fact that they wouldn't be attending my wedding, she got very angry at her mother. She wanted to come and knew I wanted her to be there as well. Her brother Michael sided with his mother, Tina, while Mila knew that I wouldn't just uninvite them from the wedding. I made arrangements with my father that Mila would come along with them and I'd pay for it all. Obviously, Tina wouldn't let her daughter travel along with my dad and her parents, but this only caused her daughter to get more and more angry with her. This Tina blamed me for as well, of course. Thanks to my grandfather, eventually Tina let Mila come to my wedding, and honestly, this did make me very happy. The best wedding gift she could have given me. I used the money I'd spent on Tina and her family to give my other uncle James a better place to stay. This way, Audrey didn't have to split up her children and split up with James to sleep somewhere else, which she really didn't like, and my wedding was amazing. Tina didn't come, and she had been cursing me and my family for celebrating this day without her. How could you imagine?
Yeah, I mean, how could you celebrate Tina's wedding when she's not even there?
Right? Tina's OP's wedding.
Yeah.
How could you do it? Should I have paid for Tina's family because I'm asking her to come all the way to the USA? She said my father offered to pay for themselves, but I just really wanted to pay for them and my grandparents. Getting married to the love of my life and living so far away from them made me appreciate and love my father and grandparents even more than I already knew I did. By the way, what I love more than I already knew is that you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. You know that, guys? Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen and just type in OK Story Time.
That's right.
Listen away.
That's all you need to do.
But before we listen to the end of the story, we've gotten more context. We've heard more from Tina's perspective here.
I think that one person is going to start avalanche that turns into everyone being on Tina's side. I'll be the first one to be, no, the bit is over. I'm not on Tina's side.
Let's end it.
She's trash.
She's trash. Trash and Tina, they start
She
with the same
might
letter.
have a lot of money, but she's got no class.
No class. Ooh. It just hurt because, as you might have noticed, I didn't invite my mother. I hadn't had contact with her since I was 20 years old. I left her when I was just 17, and Tina saved me from the toxic situation that I was in.
Oh, what?
She used to be someone I was close to, but this is not uncommon behavior of her. Everything is possible when it's about her, but when it's about anyone else, she always tries to make this harder than they have to be. I did not mind helping her with expenses, but she asked for almost twice as much as her brother, who has 2 more children than her. Am I the a-hole? I'm sorry if the story was a bit rocky, but there was so much going on. Please ask me if you need any more details. And there's no more details because it's over. Just to put it to rest, Dakota, was she an a-hole?
No.
She was an angel.
Yeah,
she was
you were a sweet angel baby.
That's right.
And it's a lot to ask of people if that's how much plane tickets cost, but it's also a lot to be like, hey, if you want me there, you're buying everything. It's
Yes.
like, that's weird.
That's crazy.
I think if people have like family in other like continents, normalize having more than one wedding. Cut the cost of your wedding in half and have one in the place where everyone in Europe can go, and then have one in the place where everyone in the States can go.
My family kept causing drama about my wedding, so I started planning my retribution.
Oh, that sounds like it's holy vengeance.
I have been debating whether or not to share this story because even though the people involved will likely not see this, I know if they do, they will recognize it's them, and I don't want to stir up some drama back up. However, I think it's worth sharing to strangers, even if it did happen a year ago. By the way, this comes from Who's Jan Greasy 2017 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I've fully recovered from it, so here it is. My major wedding dramas. It does include an occasion of wearing white and a petty revenge element. The three main characters that caused drama for my wedding are my dad, my mom, my older sister. This happened in 2023 when I was 23 and my older sister was 27. I'll share the story about my dad, then my mom, then my sister. First, my dad. My dad has always had a terrible sense of time, mostly due to selfishness. He is so commonly late to things, it's a character trait for him. For instance, for my cousin's small backyard wedding, he was one of the people who they stalled for. The groom had already walked down the aisle. My mom and brother were with him shopping before the ceremony, and my mom told him that they were going to be late. He ignored her, as usual, and made the three of them late. So naturally, when it came to my wedding, he would be the one walking me down the aisle. I was a little nervous. A little bit more backstory. My dad takes a trip to Canada with his friends every year, one of them being my uncle/godfather, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's about 4 years ago. One day, my dad called me up and asked if it was okay if he went on the Canada trip, and he was back on the Friday before the wedding, the day before I was supposed to be wed. I live in the Midwest, so it was a long drive and just too far of a distance to make a mistake happening before one of the biggest days of my life. When he called me, it was clear that my mom had already disapproved and he was trying to ask for permission to go. He tried to guilt trip me by saying my uncle wasn't doing too well and that this could be his last trip. This, unfortunately, made me so angry on the phone call. I said some vile things I deeply regret because they were out of character for me. I was so disappointed in my dad as we already had such a rocky relationship, and I didn't need to hear that he could possibly miss my wedding. He ended up not going to Canada, and luckily that was the end of that. Currently our relationship is okay, but that is a story for another time. Now my mom. If you ever seen the movie Turning Red, you have a good idea of what our relationship was like. Unfortunately, we didn't have the same happy ending. I'm still in low contact. Granted, this is completely out of my realm to say, but I would not be surprised if my mom was diagnosed with autism. I say this because one could, and sure she does, justify her actions as missing social cues because I am so smart. Now, I know that sounds like a slap in the face, but I think if you spent enough time around her, you'd see maybe there is some truth to that statement. So for my bridal shower, I had a really spicy looking dress picked out that was laced white but had a nude underlay, so you did see some brown show through. I was at my parents' house to get ready. When I walked into my mom's room, she was wearing the dress she picked out for the shower. Yes, it was white. And Dakota, what have we said always on this show?
Easiest way to make sure a bride doesn't get mad at you at any sort of wedding related event: don't wear white.
And even if the bride says, hey, wear white, what do?
You don't wear white.
No matter what.
Because they'll just get mad about it later.
Now I know it's a bridal shower and not the actual wedding, so it's not quite as deep, but it still felt like a punch in the gut. She asked me, what do you think? Referring to her dress. Stunned, I said, it's white. She responded, no, it's ivory.
She did not do that. There's no way.
Fun fact, to me, shade of white. I said, well, I'm supposed to wear white. She gestures to my dress, says, well, your dress is brown. She walked out of the room and I held back tears, trying not to ruin my makeup. I told myself I had to keep my emotions in check just for a few hours so I can enjoy my bridal shower. Later that night, I tried to do the adult thing and talk to her about it, clearly explaining how it hurt me that she wore a white dress, and that's when she responded with, I really didn't know. I think it's just my genius that it makes me miss social cues. I've never gotten an apology for her ever before, so I wasn't expecting one, but I did want to keep things smooth since it was so close to the wedding day. Same with my dad, and I guess our relationship is okay, but unfortunately a 10-foot pole style of situation. Now on to my sister. This is the petty revenge story. I will start with the small things she did that made me cry on my wedding day, and then with my revenge story. For some context, I got engaged February of 2022, married July 2023. My sister got engaged March 2023 and married December 2023. I know it's just one day and I don't get the whole year. However, it still felt a bit underhanded. We were both each other's maid of honors, and if we had a closer relationship, it might have been magical. However, that wasn't the case. We used to be actually pretty decently close, but since I got engaged, her jealousy came out of the woodwork. I would have been fine if her wedding didn't start to step on my toes and try to steal things from me. On my wedding day, she tried scheduling her makeup appointment with the artist despite being on a tight schedule. She also told her stepdaughter to hand deliver her wedding invitations while we were getting ready.
Go ahead and hand deliver how many invitations? Like,
Just a few hundred.
just like
maybe
for the
100.
entire wedding. Like, go ahead and just hand deliver those.
I wasn't there, but I was told that my younger sister told her if you can't afford 50 cents for a stamp, then maybe you don't deserve to be married. There are another handful of incidents like this. It just felt like she was trying to mooch off me. But I'll just get to the big one. The petty revenge. I tried my best to be a good matron of honor. I went dress shopping with her and tried to keep it lighthearted and make it fun, knowing from my experience. Anyways, at one point, she found a dress that could be it. I asked her if she wanted to see it with the veil on. She said yes, and I asked her what length. I then asked her if she knew how much she wanted to spend on a veil, and she just casually said, "Oh, I'll just borrow yours." Didn't even ask permission. Like, hey, actually, I was wondering if I could borrow yours for my something borrowed, which maybe could have been a sweet moment, but no. Felt like she was just trying to cut corners and save money, and again, mooch off my special day. Quick okay story time. I have twin cousins that got married to twin brothers, and one twin tried to double up their wedding.
That would have
To
just
save
been
money.
way too confusing. Are you serious?
She tried to, but I think the one twin was like, "No, we're not gonna do that."
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah, but I was like, "Please do it,"
I mean, that would have been hilarious.
because one was like planning it, making it happen. And the other one was like, "Oh, I don't want to spend so much money. Can I just do it with you?" Because they do everything together.
It's like that's like the duality of the twins. It's
Yeah.
like one is one way and one is the opposite.
Yeah.
That's great.
My mom drove it home by saying, "Well, you're not doing anything with it after." I stayed silent and moved to the shadows. I feel like I should also mention my lovely veil costs $200. Not a price for everyone, but it's what I wanted and could afford. So, for my getting ready outfits, I had reached out to local seamstress to have them embroider with everyone's names. After this veil incident, you guessed it, I got my veil embroidered out of spite. Because it was embroidered in the first place, right? I didn't do anything crazy, just my monogram with my new initials and the wedding date, as well as blue flowers for my something blue. I told the seamstress what it was for, and she loved it. They still bring up the story today because they've never had anyone need them to embroider something out of spite. So, while the process was exciting and a little empowering, the reveal was not as dramatic. Like I said, I have a complicated relationship with my family, which means even though we have such terrible moments, we also have meaningful ones. And every day we have meaningful ones at 3 p.m. PST when we go live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Just join us and check if we're right now. We might be live. Dakota, what do you feel about this? How are you feeling? Is this the right move?
How am I feeling? I feel like, they were going to cause problems regardless,
Yes.
right? They are like, I want this. And you were like, well, that's just, what if I don't want you to?
Yeah.
It didn't matter because you're not being respected. So, hey, now if you want it, you get to wear my monogram on it too. Is that all right?
I like that a lot.
Yeah, there's your something blue, right?
Yeah, and sorry about your other family members too. Like the dad, glad he didn't go on that Canada trip. Oh my goodness, and the mom.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with time that stuff will work out. But ugh.
Yeah, I mean,
And she's also asking this of her 23-year-old sister. So the older sister's 27. This is her 23-year-old sister. Oh, just borrow yours.
Yeah, I feel like you would want your own, wouldn't you?
Yeah, wouldn't you?
Wouldn't you? I don't know. It just seems like you would want your own, right? Why do weddings have to be such a source of familial drama and
Who
tension?
the heck knows?
I guess, with time it'll blow over, OP.
My sister was there with me at my last dress fitting so the seamstress could show her how to bustle it. It was that moment I showed her the veil and said something like, "I know you said you wanted to borrow it, but I already had wanted to get it embroidered for my something blue." 'Twas a lie, but again, with the wedding day being so close, I wanted to mitigate drama. She just responded, "That's okay, it's your day," as if nothing happened. So there it is, the bulk of my wedding drama. There were a lot of other things that happened, but these were the most interesting. I did cry on my wedding day, unfortunately, but it was a car ride to the hotel and I was able to put it past me. It's all water under the bridge for me, but I hope someone enjoys listening to this tale. I love that song, Water Under the Bridge. I had to sing it for a course in high school.
Can you give us a little...
I totally forgot all the words.
No.
Water under the bridge. I don't know. I forgot the words. I didn't like that chorus teacher. I kind of gave up on
Why
it.
don't you just sing the Nirvana song instead?
Ooh, I did not know Nirvana made that.
Underneath the bridge.
OP, Seems like everything was good. I'm sorry. I feel like the car ride was something with her and her mom because she got ready with her parents. And I think on the way there, she probably had to work with her mom. But I'm glad you had an all right day on your wedding day. I don't really know
Definitely
who you got
not
married
the worst
to.
wedding day drama we've ever heard, but like it can be really annoying when your family just doesn't seem to like respect you on your day.
Yeah.
And it's like they're just trying to make it. Just let people have their day on their wedding day, for God's sake.
And don't wear white.
And don't wear white.
And that is the end of that story. We got one more for you, beautiful people.
Coming right up.
And Cooter's going to read it.
I got kicked out mid-wedding by the bride, and my boyfriend just watched.
Watch me break up with him.
He won't be able to watch me break up with him because I'm going to do it at the speed of light. Today, my 24 male partner and I, 24 female, let's just call him Eric, we were invited to the wedding of one of his oldest friends from school. We received our save the date months ago, and the invite was addressed to Eric and Vicky. By the way, this comes from user Victoria Vici, and you can submit your stories to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. Our invite stated we were invited for the whole shebang, the service, the breakfast, and the evening reception. Our RSVP required both of our dietary requirements for the breakfast, which we replied to ages ago. I thought this was pretty awesome and generous of the bride and groom, as I had never met either of them and Eric was only close with the bride. So it was a very nice gesture. The wedding is a few hours away from where we live, and since neither of us drive, I booked train tickets in advance, which came to about £60 each return, and an Airbnb, which worked out to £90 between us. We don't earn a lot, so this is quite a big spend to justify. However, since they had invited us to the whole wedding, we thought it would be rude not to go. The bride also specified colors we should wear, so I bought a new outfit since I didn't have anything formal that would be suitable. Not the end of the world, but with Christmas coming up, it was a bit difficult, and I had to be really frugal all through November to make it work. Total spend was probably double what I would spend monthly on fun stuff like going out for dinner or drinks or new clothes. We got to the service, and it was beautiful. The bride looked lovely, and it was very emotional. I get nervous at weddings. I couldn't say why. And so I hadn't eaten beforehand, figuring the 4-course breakfast would fill me up nicely. So after the ceremony, we went straight into the venue to have drinks and sit down at tables. We were towards the back of the line into the venue, so half the congregation had already sat down. We glanced at the seating plan, saw Eric's name, and headed over. There was no place setting for me. Oh no.
At the wedding, you find this out?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Eric found his name, but there weren't any free seats at the table. Eric sat down and I asked an usher whether there was a mistake. He didn't know, so he waved over the bride. She and I had never met before, but she seemed friendly until she opened her mouth. Oh no, you're not part of the breakfast. The invitation was just for the reception and service. You're welcome to come back later. This was in front of most of the guests who had already sat down in a big venue, probably 140-ish seats. The usher suggested I go to the pub. Eric didn't know what to do, but didn't want to cause a scene, so he stayed put and stayed quiet. I quite literally have never felt so embarrassed and humiliated in my life. I left, and it was raining heavily. Hadn't brought an umbrella since it was an indoor wedding, and being in a rural place, I had to walk about 20 minutes to get anywhere else. The usher had suggested a pub where, quote, the other guests are, so I just kept walking, but my shoes were literally ruined and soaked through.
I'm just picturing poor OP just like drenched, looking all sad. This is devastating.
This
I
is
wouldn't
like
go back.
Basics 101.
Yeah.
Like,
I would
you
not go back.
with your partner when they are like rudely excluded from the wedding. You go, oh, all right.
We'll come back later.
I'll go with you.
Yeah.
Not only were my shoes soaked through, but it was also pretty damn cold because it's December and I was dressed for a wedding. Got to the pub to find a handful of merrymakers drinking heavily at 2 p.m. in wedding clothes, introduced myself kind of awkwardly as they were total strangers, and they were luckily really nice. They invited me to sit with them and tell them about the service. All of them had only been invited to the reception. I asked one of them if I could see their invite, and it was crystal clear that they were evening guests. There was no mention of the service or the breakfast, nor their dietary requirements. I apparently was the only person who was invited and then uninvited to the whole shebang. I sat with them and had some food because I was was starving, but they all started leaving to get ready at about 4 p.m. Being a total stranger, I didn't think it best to ask to come with them, but I had never been to this town before, and besides Eric, I didn't know anybody. Since being ejected at 1:30 p.m.-ish, I was expected to just hang out until 7:30 when the reception started. That's crazy.
That's insane. I would go. You're supposed to hang out at a pub for
Yeah,
hours.
That's
with
wild.
I doubt
no
OP
one and
brought,
nothing.
like a book.
Yeah, no. So I left. I feel so unwelcome and so unwanted that I just wanted to go home. The evening will start in about half an hour without me, but I just can't bring myself to attend knowing that half the guests watch me being asked to leave by the bride herself. I traded in my train ticket, which was a return for tomorrow, and I'll be traveling back alone immediately. I texted Eric to tell him, but he didn't respond. I've been holding back tears since I was ejected 6 hours ago, and I feel completely torn. I don't understand what happened with the invite, whether it was a mistake or whether I was just supposed to know it was only for Eric. Despite being addressed to both of us, despite asking for both of our dietary requirements, despite explicitly stating we were invited to the whole wedding.
I don't know. That's so confusing because my immediate thought would be, it was probably some sort of miscommunication. But even if that were true, this is unacceptable. Like, it's unacceptable to kick someone out and make them wait hours. That's crazy. Just say like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, we don't have enough food, but like, you're welcome to stay and like, we'll try and figure something out. But to kick them out is insane. But also, it doesn't seem like it was a miscommunication.
Part of me feels like I should have gone to the evening reception too, but I'm soaked through. My hair and makeup look awful. My shoes are unwearable. I am now barefoot on a really gross floor, and I'm freezing. I look a mess and I feel so stupid. Did I mess up here? I feel like I've just been totally effed over, and I'm really upset that Eric didn't stand up for me or anything and leave the breakfast with me, although I think that's less because of malice and more that he's just a bit hopeless when put on the spot. I've never heard of a wedding where you invite a +1 by name, but then they aren't invited to as much of the wedding as the other half of the couple.
Nor have I.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a thing that ever happens. Nobody else at the wedding had this happen. I don't see how it can be personal since I've never met any of them before. I'm really upset and can't wrap my head around how weird today has been. If this happened to you, what would you do? And there is an edit. Thank you to everyone for your words of support. It's really helped, and I've gone from a wobbly wet mess to a cackling harpy with my big glass of wine.
Is OP still at the pub?
I don't know, maybe.
Just like sitting at the pub, just like, oh Lord, I was having a terrible day. You guys really made this.
I really hope so. I can see that in my head.
I hope she's still at the pub.
She's just been reading Reddit at the pub like, oh, what a wonderful idea.
It's like, does anyone have a charger?
Barkeep, I'll take your largest glass of please.
Make it last 5 hours, please.
Yeah. You guys don't hold back on your opinions, and I kind of love it. It's now nearly bedtime here. Eric stayed at the party and is presumably still there. I came home and feel a lot better for knowing how a crappy situation this was. Karma's a B, and when they go low, we go high. So I'm going to go to bed and sleep on it and think about the next steps in the morning. A lot of people think I should dump Eric, whereas that had never crossed my mind. I was mostly pissed off with the bride and the maid of honor, who may have been involved too, I don't know. Eric will be coming home sometime tomorrow, and we're going to talk. I want to hear his piece because he's been since lunchtime. He might just be a dum-dum rather than a full-blown a-hole. Either way, no wind-up sudden decisions right now. I will try and come back and update as and when anything else happens. Thanks to everyone. We do have some relevant comments. Plain truthiness, as the person who messed up was the bride, who is an utter word I don't use, but she is, and Eric, who is appalling. I absolutely cannot believe that he didn't walk out with you. What the was he thinking? Did he used to date the bride or the bride's sister? OP says, funny you say that. The maid of honor is his ex.
I freaking called it!
Although we were not aware until we saw her name in the wedding booklet at the ceremony that she would even be there. However, there's a lot of bad blood between them. If she was going to intervene to remove anybody, it would have been him. And we do have an update after that, but would the galaxy-brained move actually be to exclude your ex's new partner, so that they get upset when you also know that your ex is a sucker for a 4-course breakfast?
Agreed.
Basically, I went to a wedding of my boyfriend's oldest friend from school and got uninvited from the wedding breakfast as it was starting. My boyfriend stayed at the wedding. I hadn't expected this big reaction to my first post and just wanted to say thanks to everyone who gave advice and was supportive. I was feeling super crappy when I initially posted, and after an hour of and reading your comments, I felt a lot more sane and calm. I wanted to clarify a few things that people were confused about or that weren't clear in my first post. I'm in the UK and our weddings are different to the way weddings are held in the US. Traditionally, there's a ceremony, the wedding breakfast, which is a sit-down 3-course meal. Although it's called breakfast, it's usually in the afternoon, followed by speeches and then an evening reception, which is like a disco. It's not uncommon for people to invite only relatives and close friends to the ceremony and breakfast, then invite lots of evening guests for the reception. However, it is uncommon to invite somebody to the ceremony and reception, but not the breakfast, as then they are kind of left to entertain themselves somewhere for 6 hours. Having talked to friends and coworkers since last weekend, what happened to me was a serious no-no in terms of etiquette. Me and Eric have been together for nearly a year and a half. We live together and we have a pretty strong relationship. He has no past romantic connections with the bride, who I'll call Marie, which some people were asking about. They went to school together from ages 4 to 10 and remained in touch as pen pals and Facebook friends since then. They rarely see each other in person, and the wedding was the first time he would see her in about 2 years. There was zero phone signal at the venue. We noticed this when we arrived for the ceremony and were a little annoyed as the wedding had a hashtag, which we couldn't exactly tweet about with no signal, which is going to be important later. We didn't know this until we arrived at the wedding, but the maid of honor, Helen, was Eric's ex-girlfriend. They were together for 3 years and she cheated on him and dumped him.
Ooh.
So they have a lot of bad blood and do not have any contact with each other. So on to the update. After leaving the ceremony, I got straight on the train and went back to my hometown. I was on the train when I wrote my first post. When I got home, I told my parents everything and they weren't particularly impressed. And like most of the posters here, they were perplexed that Eric hadn't come with me. My mom gave me a big hug, ran me a bath, and poured me a glass of wine, and I just tried to relax and forget about my day from the bad place. I hadn't heard from Eric, but texted him to let him know I was home safe and would see him tomorrow. Eric texted me back at about 9 p.m. asking me what I meant by home. Home or the Airbnb that we had booked nearby to the venue. I clarified, and he said, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Love you so much. XOXO. Gossip Girl. I didn't really know what to make of it since the whole day had just been such a massive F-up, so I finished my watched a Disney movie and went to bed. The next morning, given I still hadn't really heard from Eric at all, I assumed he'd be getting in at about midday, so I got up early and started wrapping Christmas presents. At 8 a.m., I heard a key in the door, and what do you know? It's Eric, still in his creased suit with red eyes, looking like he wasn't really making sense, so I made him have a shower and warm up, made coffee, and decided to talk once he was looking human again. We sat down together and pieced together his side of the story. Basically, once I had left, Eric was absolutely livid with Marie. He had frozen like a deer in headlights when she was asking me to go and was kicking himself that he hadn't done the right thing. About 10 minutes after I left, Marie turned around and said, oh, actually, a few people haven't turned up. Get Vicky to come back. We have space for her now. And Eric had tried to call me. Because there was no phone signal anywhere near the venue, he couldn't get through, and Marie pretty much immediately said, oh well, never mind, she didn't want to be here anyway, which obviously was a pile of crap and made Eric feel rubbish. The meal was a very formal sit-down affair, so he just kind of grinned and bared it, assuming I would be coming back in the evening.
Nope.
At
that point, I'm leaving.
That's when you leave as Eric. Eric, that's when you leave. Eric was the only person mentioned in the speeches by Marie's father who wasn't a family member. And apparently it was clear to everyone how disappointed he was that I wasn't there to share it with him. When I texted him at about 6 p.m. to let him know I was going home, he never received it. He was only able to text me at 9 p.m. by hiking down the road for 5 minutes to find a signal. All the while, his ex, Helen, was being sickly sweet.
I hate Helen.
Helen is the worst. Asking where I was. Why didn't I want to come and enjoy the party? Why was I shy? Apparently with quite the evil glint in her eye, like she had gotten exactly what she wanted. Neither of us knew she was the maid of honor until we got there, and given their bad relationship, Eric was pretty pissed off that Marie had failed to mention she had such a prominent role in the wedding. Whether Helen was behind the seating error, I don't know. But if she was, then Marie was just as bad in enabling it to happen. So Eric stayed at the wedding miserably and went back to the Airbnb afterwards alone. He barely slept, feeling angry at Marie and Helen for effing with us and at himself for not sticking up for me, and left at 4:30 a.m. to get the first train home. Hence why he was back at our place so early. He wasn't really apologetic to me at all. He didn't really seem to see how it was crappy for me.
No, he thinks that him going, yeah, I felt really bad is enough. He thinks that is an apology, and it's not.
Yeah, it's completely...
Like, I don't care how bad you felt. I was soaked in the rain and banished from a wedding for no reason.
Exactly. He more felt like he had been insulted by the situation and let down by his oldest friend. He's cutting off Marie and doesn't want anything else to do with her. So yeah, that was Eric's take on the whole thing. To be honest, I was pretty pissed that in all of this, he hadn't really considered how I felt or what it had been like for me getting thrown out of the wedding. While what he had gone through was pretty crummy, he at least had been warm, dry, and well fed. The indignation of your girlfriend being removed from an event while you're there isn't really as bad as being the girlfriend, getting soaked in the rain, feeling humiliated, and all the rest. So we talked, and I laid out why I wasn't okay with what had happened and why his reaction wasn't okay. He can be a bit of a lemon sometimes, and this feels like one of those times. He didn't step up to the plate. He just let the world wash over him and acted as a bystander. I'm still hurt by his actions, and he still hasn't really apologized properly. I don't know if he understands that he did wrong too, but this isn't a deal breaker for me. It's a heavy straw on the camel's back, but the camel is still standing.
That camel's still standing.
That camel's strong. We have a really lovely Christmas coming up, and after a really long autumn of working hard, all I want is to go back to the happy place we were before this messed up. And honestly, I don't want to think about it. So I know a lot of you guys are going to drag me over hot coals for this one, but we're still together. By the way, I'm going to tell all of you to do anything right now, which is that go listen full episodes with stories like this. That's what you can go do. And you can go do it on,
You have the
on
agency to do
Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Just search OK Storytime, and there you will find an infinite number of episodes. I am not going to break up with him over this, but it's a big dark mass on his record, almost like some sort of black omen. As far as I'm concerned, he needs to get a lot of extra credit to get a pass this year, to use a terrible analogy, and I expect him to step up and really try to do better from now on. It's not really an ultimatum, but I'm willing to put this behind us if he can prove to me that he's invested and trying harder in this relationship from now on. If he doesn't, then I won't be sticking around. I love him a lot, but he needs to have my back and be empathetic to what I'm going through.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that this wasn't the victorious breakup update so many of you wanted, but I want a nice, happy Christmas together. God dang it, that's what I want.
Get my happy Christmas.
I know you want breakup. I want happy Christmas. I'm not ruling it out as an option if things don't improve, but I want to give him another chance to prove this relationship is worth it. And here's a top comment from Throw the Switch. Things to think about. If Marie said only 10 minutes after you left that you could stay, why didn't he come and physically find you after his call didn't go through? Why didn't he try and find signal to call you again only 5 minutes away until it was 9 p.m.?
My questions precisely.
Yes, it does seem like he really...
fumbled.
Yeah.
He didn't even fumble. He threw that ball on the floor and went, oh no, it fell.
And then you watched it roll. Another comment from It's All Mine Now. So I know a lot of you guys are going to drag me over hot coals, but we're still together. Yeah, that's the important thing. You haven't lost him. As for dragging you over coals, you're going to be the one to live with this selfish, conceited carpet. So really, there's nothing more I can add that would push the point home more than some more occasions where he just dumps you at the side of the road because he's offended by how they disrespected him by treating you badly. Throw the Switch's comment makes a good point. He didn't even try to catch you up, go down the road to contact you, or even leave in disgust because all he could think about was his own hurt feelings. You've got a great life coming. OP says, I have a set deadline in my head where I need to see significant improvement in a few areas of the relationship, which I have told him is important if he wants us to stay together.
Good.
And
She's
if that doesn't
communicating.
happen, I'm gone. This is good. If he messes up big time before then, I'm gone. Just giving him one last chance to pull himself up by his bootstraps and prove it's worth staying for.
I think they're staying together, but
That's
with
good.
a lot of you are on probation.
Yeah, thin ice type scenario. That is the end of that story for us. I was upset my sister seated me with strangers at their wedding. They just rolled their eyes at me. It's been 8 years, so I feel safe in posting this. I love my sister, and it's water under the bridge, but we've never discussed or resolved this beef because that's just not how that part of my family does things. By the way, this comes from user RecentGas4203, and you can submit your stories to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, I, 53 female, am never married, and it's taken me decades to heal my ish and make peace with it. But for years, attending weddings as the always single person was really upsetting and embarrassing. Although I'm confident in non-romantic situations, outgoing and funny, I am overweight and have only had a handful of boyfriends in my life, so this issue was particularly painful and often made me cry out of humiliation and insecurity. 8 years ago, my half-sister, who's 28, female at the time, married a Brit and insisted on the wedding being in his hometown since they lived here in the United States. He actually wanted the wedding to be in our home state because it's a popular place that people like to visit, and his friends and family from England were excited to have a reason to come here, but she was insistent that the wedding be in England.
Probably California.
Could literally be anywhere.
I was going to say New York, but she would have said city if that was the case. A very famous city that a lot of people like to join.
At the time, our dad, who's 72 male, was dealing with significant dementia, had cancer, and a lot of mobility issues. One of our other sisters, 30 female, who I'll call Lauren, was many years into treatment for stage 4 breast cancer and had a 10-month-old baby. The fourth sister gave birth 6 weeks early to a child who barely survived and was in the NICU until he was 7 months old, making it impossible for her to travel to England for the wedding. So the fact that the bride insisted on England, given all of this, was particularly insensitive, given the challenges our family faced in trying to travel for an international wedding. For the wedding, Lauren, the sister, was the maid of honor, and I and a cousin were bridesmaids, and 3 of the bride's friends were also bridesmaids. The bride and groom knew how I often felt extremely uncomfortable being alone at weddings and have been supportive of me in the past, but it became apparent to us as we tried to plan our trip that they really didn't have any intention of spending any time with us in Europe. They had a big group of affluent hipster friends at the time that dominated their social life. They planned to go early to England, as did many of her friends, and they planned a honeymoon with the whole group and his parents in the south of Spain at an oceanside city for the week, directly following the wedding. My dad was not much of a traveler. His idea of a vacation was camping, and we knew he would be very uncomfortable in Europe, especially given his dementia. My sister Lauren really wanted to join the group in southern Spain so that we could see more of Europe without overtaxing her while she was in treatment and caring for a baby. The bride and Lauren had always been extremely close, basically BFFs, and Lauren hoped to spend more time with the bride and groom after the wedding. And she very much wanted some time to relax on a sunny beach, given the long illness she had been battling. But when we tried to make these plans, the bride and groom were very evasive, and it became clear to us that they didn't want us there. We don't know if perhaps we embarrassed them because we weren't affluent hipsters, but it seemed pretty rude, given that we were forcing our ailing and aging father and our cancer-stricken sister to travel across an ocean for their wedding. And if we were going to do all that, we wanted to make a trip out of it and spend more than just a couple of days required for the wedding. It was pulling teeth to try to get information from them about where we should fly into, how we should travel to the north of England, and where we should stay. And although I had been to Paris many years before, I was the only one to have been to Europe before in our group. Guys, if you're going to have a destination wedding in a different continent, you have to take point on providing information to your guest list for it. It's insane that you're not doing that.
I'm planning a trip to go to a different city for a wedding, and I'm very impressed with the bride and groom and how much information they gave us, because now I know where to get a little hotel at, where to get my plane to go to, and I'm solid. And they even gave me activities for like after the wedding, what they want to do.
That's a good example of what to do. As I said, in many ways other than romantic, I am independent and confident. I very much wanted to see more of England, so I chose to fly in a day early and do a day tour that I was excited to do. So I traveled alone to London, took the day trip, and then took the train north where the groom's aunt kindly met me at the train station and our group stayed with her. She was a lovely hostess. That evening, we expected to have dinner with the bride and groom, and after a lot of hassle, we did end up having dinner with them. But immediately after, we were hustled away, and they went out with their friends. The next night, we transferred to the venue where we were all staying and had the rehearsal and rehearsal dinner. It was more of the same with the bride, and especially the groom, really blowing us off. The groom almost acted like we were invisible. How are you going to act like your bride's family is invisible at your own wedding? I feel like they both are acting like their family is invisible, so they're both red flags, but I guess they're made for each other.
Conspiracy theory is that the husband's family super rich, and he does not think that his wife's family is, thus looks down on them. And since they have a different lifestyle, maybe the wife also, OP's sister, also feels the same way.
I think there's more of just like an age gap, and it's like you're old and gross, and we're young and hot and rich. I think it's as simple as that. I think they're just self-absorbed. I don't even know if there's anything deeper into it. I think they're just a bunch of rich young people who are like, we're hot and you're not. When we got to the venue, I was all excited, and I gave him a big hug, and he literally gave me the hug and shove, and then turned back to his friends. Very little was done in the way of introductions between the United States contingent and his friends and family there. Fast forward to the wedding and the reception, I've learned that weddings in England last a long time. After the wedding, there was a cocktail hour while we took pictures, and then the attendance couples were asked to make a splashy entrance. After we did that and the bride and groom were introduced, I went searching for my seat. It was then that I discovered I had been seated 3 rows of tables away from the bride and groom, the attendant tables, and close family. I was seated at a table of total strangers. I didn't know these people, and there was no effort made to introduce me. In a state of utter shock and humiliation, I did sit down and introduce myself to everyone and tried to make conversation, but I was getting more and more upset. I felt completely humiliated. I didn't understand why, at the very least, I couldn't have been seated with the groom's aunt, who I at least knew from staying with her, or with a couple of family friends who had made the trip. So rather than cry in front of everyone, I got up and excused myself and went and hid out in one of the parts of the inn where I knew no one would be. I could not stop crying, and I am one of those people who look absolutely horrendous after I cry. Oh, you mean everybody? You're one of those people? You're a human being?
Crazy. You should figure that out.
Getting the sense that OP's a little too hard on herself. There's no hiding that I have been crying. The bride finally noticed I was gone and sent Lauren to look for me. Lauren was very sympathetic and was trying to comfort me, but I'm also one of those people that will cry harder if you ask me what's wrong. So I thanked her, but told her to just go ahead and go back and give me some time. I was going to try and fix my makeup and come back, which I did. I don't know exactly how long I was gone, but dinner was over and toasts were starting. Lauren was the maid of honor, so she gave a speech, as did my dad, and others made speeches for the groom. By this time, I was calmed down enough that I was able to smile and applaud. After her speech, Lauren approached me to check in and said that when she told the bride and groom why I was upset, they just rolled their eyes and said I was being ridiculous.
So you're going to put your sister that you're not really close with. I'm 13 years older than my youngest sibling. I know him. I'm like, we're good. We talk, but I'm not like super close because I don't live there. But I'm not like 3 tables away from him at his wedding. Yeah.
Right. He'd be at the family table. I mean, it feels like they already knew this. OP had made it clear that these people knew how she felt at weddings, and especially like around strangers or whatever. It's like she needed to be in a familiar, comfortable place.
I bet whenever they were writing their list of people they wanted at their wedding, you were not in the top 50.
I did my best for the rest of the night to participate in all of the wedding things and dance with them. The bride never said a word about any of it, and the groom didn't speak to me once the entire evening. These people suck. But you know what doesn't suck? You joining us to listen to full episodes with stories like this on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search OK Storytime, and there you will find the fountain of youth of stories. There's like 50 days worth of stories, and there's more added every day. But and we do have a little bit of story left. Honestly, like, are you at peace with this, or are you like, I'm done with these people?
I am low contact. I feel like there's more of a vibe of neglect and ignoring rather than outright trying to get after you.
Yeah, it wasn't maybe malicious. It was just purely like, I don't care. I do not care that you're here. I do not care to look after you. I do not care to cater to you.
Like, see them at holidays. You can get them underwear at holidays. You don't have to get them something that could actually help. You don't have to get them the newest edition of Lord of the Rings, but just get them like, socks.
Yeah, I'd say definitely low contact, but I also just realized maybe that the reason that OP's sister was so adamant about having the wedding in England was that she thought maybe her family wouldn't be going.
There might be trauma around that, or the now husband has infiltrated the sibling's mind and made her think. That's what I'm thinking.
Let's finish this story. When we got back to the States, there was a lot of resentment, but as a group, we did our best to work through it because we love each other. A few years later, the groom made a snide comment to me about that situation, kinda as if he was mocking me for it, and I snapped back and told him that he hadn't even bothered to introduce me to the people he seated me with. He said he didn't think it was a big deal, since I can, quote, talk to anybody. I asked if he really wanted to get into it, and he said no, so we both dropped it. Why? Why are you letting these people off the hook? That is not cool. Do not let lame-os off the hook for their lame-o activities and behavior.
Maybe she has a chronic thing of people-pleasing.
So we are all fine today, and I love them all dearly, but I still have a pretty deep wound, and as I'm writing this, it makes my eyes burn. So we're not all okay, are we? So am I the a-hole for getting my feelings hurt at my sister's wedding and excusing myself to go cry? Sorry, I was not more succinct. Yeah, how dare you have emotions? How dare you have feelings? No, you're not an a-hole for that. You would be an a-hole if you got emotional and stood up and loudly sobbed, wept, and screamed at the wedding and then ran out and made a huge scene. Then you're the a-hole, but going to quietly cry in a stairwell away from the party, that's, you're not an a-hole for that. It's just a human moment.
You're good, girl. Don't worry about it. And that's the end of that story.
My bachelorette party was a disaster because my friends made it all about them.
Oh, dude, what? You had friends that worked for FEMA? That's crazy.
So I got married 1 year ago. Yay! All of my friends were really excited for me. Some of them had never even been to a wedding or bachelorette party, and were, of course, extra nervous and excited, therefore. By the way, this comes from SnorkMaiden14 on the r/Okie Storytime subreddit. Before the wedding, I chose 5 bridesmaids. My sister, let's call her Cecilia. My second cousin, childhood friend, let's call her Amanda. My other childhood friend, who is my closest friend, let's call her Mary. And 2 friends, let's call them Sophia and Mandy. Before the wedding, my friends threw me a bachelorette party. They were really sweet since I live about 400 kilometers away from basically all of my friends and the place where I grew up. Sophia and Mandy actually drove 400 kilometers to come get me, bought me pizza, and then drove back 400 kilometers with me. When we got back, it was late, and I slept at Sophia's place, and then the bachelorette party would start the next morning. Since I was 17, I was 28 when all this happened, I had told all of my friends that for my bachelorette party, I wanted to do laser tag and go dancing. And I remind them a lot throughout the years so they wouldn't forget. That sounds great. So I knew that that was what they were going to do, and I was super excited. I could barely sleep because of the excitement. The only thing they had told me was to bring some nice clothes with me. So the next morning, I took a shower, put on some makeup, and a pair of fancy pants and a nice shirt.
Fancy pants.
Then me and Sophia drove to another city about 50 kilometers away. First, we went to her mom's place to return the car and wait for the other ones. After a while, Sophia suggested that we would take her mom's dog for a short walk while we waited. And when we had been walking for only a few meters, my other friends and bridesmaids come out of a bus to surprise me. I was happy to see them, but also got a bit worried since they were all wearing costumes. The thing is, I absolutely hate dress up.
Well, you hate dressing up unless it's your fancy pants.
Unless you're a fancy pants. I'm the kind of person who hates Halloween and avoids Halloween parties because I don't like to dress up. I've never liked it, and that is something my friends should know about me since it isn't a secret. Well, suddenly they hand me a bag with a costume and a wig and tell me to go put it on. I was a bit irritated and asked them if I really had to. At first, they seemed a bit unsure and taken aback, but they insisted. Fine, I'll survive wearing a costume and a wig for a little while. I asked them if I would have to wear it all day, but never really got an answer. It was a Little Mermaid costume because I loved the movie, and all of the other ones were dressed as different Disney characters. It made sense because I am a huge Disney fan.
Wait, Disney fan, but you don't like dressing up?
That just doesn't
Yeah,
add up, dude.
seems
What's
counterintuitive.
going on? Something is not. Something is
I mean,
amiss.
I get it. Some people don't like doing it, but like I feel like those go hand in hand.
So we got on the bus. Amanda is a bus driver, so she was driving this private bus for the day. Amazing, I know. And Mary was giving me some drinks. Amanda was driving deeper and deeper into the forest, but I figured out where we were going. To a farm. I love animals, and my favorite animals are dogs and pigs. So when we got to the farm, there was a table with brunch that we ate. And then they had arranged that I would meet the pigs. I mean, really meet them. Like go inside the fence and pet them. Absolutely amazing, but there were a lot of other people on the farm, like kids and stuff. And they were all looking kind of weirdly at us since we were all dressed up. Who cares? But I tried to ignore it and enjoy the pigs. Afterwards, we were driving back to the same city. I woke up in the morning. Now, here's where I got really disappointed. Ever since I, for the first time, tried out laser tag, I have told all of my friends that is what I want to do for my bachelorette. Every single one of my friends. So we were driving to the area that has laser tag, and I got so excited. I started telling one of my friends about how excited I was, how this was all I ever wanted to do for my bachelorette, blah, blah, blah. I noticed she seemed a little uncomfortable, and my heart started to sink. Isn't that where we were going? Nope. They took me to a photo studio, and yes, I am into photography, but I hate having my pictures taken.
What is up with these contradictions?
Mandy, on the other hand, loves it. And she kept telling me about how she found this studio that you could rent for a few hours and that she was going to do it for herself someday and so on. Look, there was nothing really wrong with the idea, except that I hate to stand in front of the camera. But it was so awkward. Nobody except Mandy seemed to want to be there. We were all just sitting there quietly while she was dancing around and having fun. I wasn't having fun. It just felt awkward. I hated every minute of it. Oh, we weren't drinking either. When we finally were done in the studio, I was kind of hungry, and the plan was to go out to eat. Said and done, we went to a sushi place. My sister Cecilia unfortunately had to go to work the next morning, so she kind of left quickly after she had eaten. Then Amanda and another friend tell me they also have to go, so they leave with the bus. That's when I realized I wouldn't get to go to laser tag. I was really disappointed, but still figured we could have fun and go dancing or something. But before that, I definitely want to change out of my Ariel outfit. So we go back to Sophia's place to change. While we're there, we for some reason decide that we're going to play some board games before we go out clubbing. We play maybe 2 games, and then Mary says she needs to go home. She had a 1-year-old daughter at the time, so it's understandable. We are 5 girls left, and somehow we end up talking all evening about Mandy and her crush. Then another friend goes home, and then another one. After that, I threw up. I wasn't even wasted.
What?
And then Mandy, Sophia, and I go to sleep. I felt so sad and disappointed. I never even got to wear my fancy clothes that they told me to bring. The next day, Sophia keeps on sleeping all day, and Mandy goes home. I can't leave until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon to catch my train back home, and Sophia sleeps until I leave. So I just scroll on my phone all day long, and I'm super bored. Then I leave for the train station and go back home. And yes, I had to book and pay for the train myself. I was so disappointed with the bachelorette party, but I didn't want to be ungrateful. But it was difficult when my fiance told me about his bachelor party that he had the same day as my bachelorette party. They had gone to mini golf, a tour with free drinks and food, to a sauna, riding jet skis, going to karaoke and dancing and partying all night long. I would have done anything to do all of that stuff instead of going to a photo studio. When I met with one of my friends a few weeks later who couldn't make it to the bachelorette party, she asked me how it had been. I told her it was fun, but she immediately understood it wasn't the case. Honestly, I feel like that's pretty fair to be disappointed about this.
Yeah.
At first I was like, oh, farm, it's fun, but like, it's not just that they're not doing what OP has always told them that she wanted to do. It doesn't even seem like they're doing things that OP likes to do.
It doesn't feel like a bachelorette situation
No.
at all. It just felt like, oh, we're
A
having
day.
like a hang.
Yeah, we're hanging out. We're going to go do a farm and play board games. And like, totally fair if that would be something. Like, I would love to have a bachelorette party where we all play board games. That'd be great.
Throwing it out there.
Throwing it out there.
Throwing it out there.
Honestly, I kind of want to just have a bachelorette party where all my friends come over and we just have a party. I just want to host.
Usually what it is.
Yeah, but I just want to have like a party. Like I don't want it to be gendered. I just want everyone to come over and hang out.
Have a party.
You just want to
have a
throw a party,
want
and
to
it
throw a
doesn't
party.
matter why.
And I'm the center
I'm having
of
a party.
attention.
You can't say why.
You can't say why. Who's to say?
Um,
But anyway, I understand why OP would be pretty sad about this. When I heard what they were planning, I knew you would get disappointed, so I didn't even bother getting a babysitter since I didn't want to participate in something that would just make you sad and disappointed. I know you really wanted to go out dancing and to laser tag. When she told me that, I told her that she was right. I was very disappointed and sad that this was all I got for my bachelorette. I have told Cecilia and Mary about my feelings, and they told me that it had been really hard for the bridesmaids to cooperate with each other, and that Mandy and Mary were basically in charge and shooting down every other person's ideas. Apparently, Amanda had suggested laser tag at some point, but that idea was shot down immediately. Mary even admitted that the reason they all dressed up was because she and Mandy loved to dress up. But I find it really strange since I don't like it, and it was supposed to be my bachelorette party. Now, a year has gone by and I was doing just fine, but lately I've been hearing stories about bachelorette parties that my friends have been to. And they have told me that it had been so much fun and how they didn't like my bachelorette party, and all of the other bachelorettes they had been to lately have been a billion times more fun. Why are these people telling you this?
They're
That's
like,
so
yeah,
weird.
for
Like, your
next
bachelorette
time.
parties. I haven't told Amanda, Mandy, or Sophia about my feelings, but all my other friends know, and every single one of them have told me that they didn't like how it turned out either. When one of my cousins got married, her friends first threw her a bachelorette party, and after the wedding, a wife party. Basically the same as a bachelorette party, but after the wedding. At the time, I told everyone I know that I found it really weird and that they shouldn't do something like that for me. But now, since my bachelorette party was a big disappointment, I kind of want them to throw me a second one. But of course, I can't ask them to do that. It would be rude and ungrateful of me. You know what's never ungrateful or rude? Listening to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. But there's a little bit left to the story. Do you have any final?
My thought would be like, tell your friends that.
Yeah.
Don't be like, oh, I just want him to throw me another party.
Just say
and
like,
then
hey, I
never
feel
say
like
anything.
this wasn't really,
Say
geared
it.
towards me. I would love to do this again. Honestly, I feel like you could say like, I would love to do this again. Let's go out dancing and laser tagging.
Yeah, you
just,
can. And
just,
you can do it in a way where
just
it's like,
control the narrative, or just control it. There's more. So even though I already asked if I'm the a-hole in the title, I actually don't need you to answer because I know I am one. Well, I don't think so. I am so petty that I can't get over this experience, even though I should be grateful for all they did for me and for at least trying. But I feel so disappointed, and I get so jealous when I hear the stories of all the other bachelorette parties that apparently are super fun. I guess my question isn't really if I'm the a-hole. I am, but rather how do I move on and get over this? I feel so entitled and spoiled to even have these feelings. I basically feel like an a-hole. Help! And that is the end of that story. Man, yeah, Susan McClintock says she should just throw herself a laser tag dance party. Honestly,
Yeah.
just do that.
do what you gotta do for yourself.
Do it for you, man.
did
Do it
last
for
year.
you.
My client's mother-in-law revealed her wedding dress on social media, so my client shocked everyone.
What'd you do, client?
What'd you do, client?
Let's find out.
A little while back, I worked in events at a country club. There was one older couple that we all adored. They owned a local bakery and joined the country club as a way to network, as well as have some place to go for Thanksgiving dinner after baking pies all week for other people's celebrations. We loved this couple, easily my favorite members. By the way, this comes from user Rebuild Collapse 679 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, the couple's kids were just as sweet, generous, and down to earth as their parents were, except one, who I will refer to as Karen.
Karen. Good name.
The name that we all know.
A name that has no cultural context or connotations associated with it.
None.
We're not quite sure what happened with Karen. My thought is she was switched at birth in the hospital because she's the only member of this family you can't make happy at all. You will literally pretzel yourself and still nothing. Please don't pretzel yourself. Thankfully, her family loves her but recognizes the problem and attempts to help. Basically, they just don't put up with her crap. Karen's son and his longtime girlfriend decided to get married, and the grandparents offered to pay for the ceremony and reception at the country club. The bride and groom were a delight to work with, not at all demanding, and super grateful grandparents made their planning easier. They already knew the menu and the property, so there was much less stress. However, Karen showed up at one of the planning meetings and attempted to change a few of the menu selections.
Of course.
Of course she did. She's Karen. But she was quickly shot down. The bride and groom just wanted good food, comfortable shoes, and an epic first look moment. Just the two of them and their good friend who offered to photograph the moment.
Love it.
The only thing the bride kind of worried about was the wedding dress. Due to medication, her weight often fluctuated, and she was saving to buy a dress until the last minute. She was worried she'd spend a ton of time and money on the perfect dress to find on the day it was too small. I think it was about a month before the wedding that she and her mother went to look at a few dresses that could be purchased off the rack. Off the rack.
Off the rack.
She picked Two she liked and the store had in her size, along with dresses in one size larger or smaller they could get from a nearby store if needed. About 2 weeks before the wedding, she attempted to be a good daughter-in-law and invited Karen as well as a few friends to help with the final decision. Opinions were given and the dress was picked. A day or two after dress selection, the bride comes walking into the country club to leave thank you cards with cash tips inside them for the cooks and dishwashers. Bride and groom knew back-of-house crew does not usually get tipped, so they worried they wouldn't have enough time on the day of the wedding to do so, but wanted the crew to know they appreciated all their hard work on wedding day. Like I said, the family is good people. But it looks like she'd been crying. I tell her the tips are greatly appreciated and ask if she's okay. She pulls out her phone and tells me the dress shopping story and shows me 2 pictures posted on social media by Karen. Both pictures were of the bride in the 2 dresses she had selected. Dude, I don't know anything about weddings. I know you don't do that. What?
Wow.
That's like, hello, delete all of your social media. You're not built for this.
Or make a post about how you did that. Go viral, content creator, boom.
And there we go. We've built another pipeline right now. The ruining my wedding to content creator pipeline. Okay, Karen also tagged the groom and at least half of the wedding guests.
Jeez.
Wow. Bride tells me she feels like a brat for being upset about the post. Grandparents have been so generous with the wedding, but she really wanted that perfect first look moment. She also mentioned she was 99% sure when she saw the groom looking all good in his wedding suit, she'd burst into happy tears, and if she got that out of the way at the first look, she could get her makeup touched up before the ceremony, and not all of her wedding pictures would feature ruined makeup. I was flabbergasted. I mean, seriously, who posts a picture of the bride in the dress before the wedding without permission and tags everyone they know?
It's so bad.
Who does that?
I mean, the only scenario that comes to mind that I think is maybe if there's someone in a completely different culture where like that's what they do with their weddings versus like this sounds like
What
like a
culture
Western.
is that?
Hey, there's probably someone. Probably
They're
someone.
just excited.
You're just excited.
They're just excited.
Like, ooh, girl, you look good. I want to tell the world. I gotta tag the world.
No, that's
Let them know.
that's the elite Karen activities right
Elite
there.
Karen.
That's you're in like the upper branches of the Karen military with
Woo!
that.
Executive branch of Karens.
You're like a colonel. You're a
Oh,
Colonel
God.
Karen. Yeah.
A black belt in Karen.
Yes, a black belt in Karen Fu.
Nice.
One of the dishwashers overheard the conversation and says, just get another dress or make one. I start to explain to him that it's not that easy with wedding dresses, that sometimes they have to be ordered well in advance. And does he know how hard it would be to make a wedding dress when the bride's eyes light up and she starts making a phone call? She says a quick thank you and goodbye while she heads out the door. I love this. This is like just like the extra character in the movie that just goes, oh, what if we did this? And then the main character goes, you're a genius. Oh my God.
Good work, Johnson.
Boop, 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 boop. Johnson, I've got an idea.
And they're never seen again.
Okay. On the day of the wedding, the bride is all smiles while getting hair and makeup done. But I noticed the dress stayed in its bag when I went in to bring water and some small sandwiches. She had one of those bride satin robes on and even had it on over the dress when the golf cart came to leave for the first look location. The brides wear satin robes?
I could see that. Makes sense.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different material. Satin is not.
It's
I've
like
got to be
shiny,
wrong.
smooth, flowy.
Okay, yeah, that is not what I was thinking of. Okay,
yeah.
cool. To prevent getting any stains in the dress, she told Karen when asked. Oh, that's why the dress was still in the bag. Didn't want it to get stained when Karen went nosing around asking questions. The first look happens and the bride walks down in not the social media posted dresses, but the most flattering dress I have ever seen on a bride. Shows off her figure perfectly. I also have never noticed how lovely her neck and shoulders were until seeing how that dress showed them off. Turns out the phone call she made was to a family friend who studied fashion and worked in the costume department of a major local opera company. Wow. For the opera.
For the opera.
She explained the situation and the friend had a few days off, so he made her a custom gown.
Wow.
All she had to do is pay for the fabric and notions. I Googled the gentleman later and found out the guy interned under Versace at this opera company. Freaking Versace.
That's wow. What an amazing last second dress situation.
You're like, oh, thank you, random guy at the venue, for reminding me that my what was it, her cousin?
Cousins,
No,
person at the
family friend,
family friend
who studied under Versace.
Casual, light work.
It's a small world out there. You never know.
Yeah.
The groom could not stop looking at her or keep his hands off her all night. It was actually super sweet and romantic to see.
Oh.
The reception was beautiful. Everyone seemed happy, I'm sure, except for one person, and had a good time. In a small workplace like that, we're a bunch of petty gossips. The entire staff knew what had happened and kept an eye on Karen all night to see her reaction. At one point during the reception, a cousin came up to the bride and Karen and said she knew that social media post was not the real dress because, come on, who would do something like that? And to their own future daughter-in-law. Yeah. The bride just stared down Karen as she chuckled and said, so funny. I mean, that would ruin her own son's wedding.
You think?
Oh, yes, that's quite funny.
Ideas.
I don't want ideas from you, John.
No ideas.
Ideas.
Yeah. Who would do something so cruel and rude? According to the server who witnessed this exchange, Karen, for the first time ever, looked like she wanted to disappear. Like she knew she had gone too far, and this time she made a huge mistake.
Ooh.
Another very observant server noticed at the end of the night, the bride and groom gave a little thank you speech. They thanked grandparents, the wedding party, the country club staff. The groom thanked his father and siblings, and the bride thanked her parents and siblings, but neither of them mentioned Karen.
Thank God, dude. No one mentioned her ever again.
Yeah, can we
Maybe
all
she'll go
shut
away.
up about Karen, please?
Make her go away.
And we have an update,
Ooh.
which I bet it's going to be like, and now we're married and happily ever after, and everything's been perfect. Okay, thanks for the love, lovelies. Yes, that dishwasher is one of my favorite people ever. I so miss working with him. My personal thoughts on Karen is she's someone who lives to be the victim, and I think she's hoped she'd be attacked for posting the pictures. Oh, so she wanted it. She was like, give me the tea, I want it.
She wants the smoke, dude. That's crazy.
Karen, the smoke demon. On several occasions, Karen has stated she would not be attending dinners at the country club only to show up and pout that she doesn't have a seat. But she always does because after the first time she did that, staff asked the family if they'd be okay sitting at a larger table just in case. And they agreed that would be the best solution. And by the way, I have a solution for you if you want to listen to more full stories like this one. All
What's
you have
that?
to do is go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or your podcast platform of choice and look up OK Storytime. Oh, yeah. It's that easy.
Beautiful.
Yeah. If you're like, oh my God, I've run out of stories. No, you haven't.
Incorrect.
Go look it up.
1,900 episodes for your frickin' dome piece. Listen.
So we do have a little bit more here before we finish it off.
Yes.
Like, I don't even have any, like, I think they've handled this perfectly, right?
Yeah, they did. They did a great job. Also, how the universe conspired in their favor. When there's a Karen, you know, when someone closes a Karen door, a wonder window opens, you know, and
Yes, the wonder window.
the wonder window. And it kind of low-key worked out so great.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Do you think, 'cause we don't know,
Mhm.
because we're getting this from like a third party, which is kind of rare for these stories, but from a third party for OP, do you think Karen went up to the bride and was like, you're welcome. I made you look even better? Because
I
if,
low-key
if
wouldn't put it
Karen
past
could go
her.
that far to post the dress itself, do you think it
Yeah.
could go far to like, she's so vain about herself, like, you're welcome, I did this for you?
She's like, yeah, actually, I knew that. And I was the one who taught
That was my
your
gift to
family
you.
friend.
And-
I am Versace.
And then the bride finally like loses it and gets a bit frustrated. She's like, you're the one that caused this mess. You know, tells her literally what she did wrong, like totally within line, right? And then she's like, all I said was, you're welcome. I was trying to show a gesture of goodwill and you attack me?
Yep.
Victim.
Yeah,
I don't
because
know. I
that's
think,
what that's
I think
her.
she's been put in her place.
Yeah, but that's what we've heard. I just want to see if she if she shut up or she put up. I can see Karen doing that though.
I can see it too.
Her family would also ask to have a plate ready for special occasions like New Year's Eve, where dinner service ends at 9 p.m., although appetizers are available all through the event. Karen would show up at 9:15, pouting about how hungry she is, even though there are plenty of appetizers, and she knew that dinner ended at 9 p.m. So the staff would walk out of the kitchen with a fresh plate for her.
Of course.
Much to her disappointment, her family would always say things like, oh, honey, look how lucky we are. Isn't the staff the best for making sure you had a dinner and a place to sit and hasn't strangled you with your own purse strap?
What?
Oh, I mean,
Okay.
you know, I'm sure that last one was a little, you know, they're just dishing, right? They're just a little dishing. But it is hilarious that everyone at the country club knows, like, all right, Karen wants to make a problem, so we're just going to prevent all the problems.
Yes. Yeah.
And
yes.
then Karen's just like, I just want there to be more problems. I don't want peace. I want problems always.
This is like usually everyone in the story, it seems, conspires to make everything worse. In this story, everyone conspired to make everything great. Shout out to everyone
It's
except
true.
for evil mother-in-law.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Of positivity.
Ooh.
She would mumble, yeah, and seem disappointed that she couldn't throw a fit. I just never understood her disappointment in her family and the country club staff doing all they could to try to help make her happy. And that is the end of that story.
Oh, I love it.
And Karen's just like, everyone's so great. I just wish I could be upset about something.
I asked my family to not come to my wedding because I can't afford it.
Maybe you shouldn't have a wedding then if you can't afford the wedding.
That's also true. That's possible. Made a throwaway because my main account is a super recognizable username. I, 35 female, am set to marry my fiance, Lawrence, 33 male, this year after a 6-year engagement. Woo! You guys are very sure now.
Hey, take your time.
By the way, this comes from Delorious on the OK Storytime subreddit. So important facts are, A, I was previously married to my university boyfriend for 6 years, but divorced because his mental health was so bad I was pushing myself into depression trying to stop him from going off the deep end. B, when I met Lawrence in an MMO, we were living in different countries, but we met up and fell in love. So I decided to move to his country. C, we thought of getting married before, but every year something happened and we had to shelve the thought. 2 times I changed jobs. 1 time, COVID. 1 time he changed jobs. 1 time his family had a health crisis and we had to make lifestyle adjustments. And D, my parents at first were apprehensive about Lawrence, especially as they had only met him for the first time right before I moved, but they've since warmed up to him and enjoy interacting with his family on Facebook. You know, everything's
That's very
perfect.
sweet. Yeah, you just have some bumps in the road, and
who doesn't have a couple bumps on the road?
that makes the marriage even better at the destination.
Yeah. This year, me and Lawrence are moving ahead with our wedding at full speed. Not much is concrete yet, but it's a December wedding and it'll be a very small affair. We have plenty of time to plan. Normally, the bride's family would pay, but since my parents are not well off and they already paid for half of my first wedding, I'm not expecting them to contribute, and Lawrence's parents are not well off either, so we're paying for it all ourselves. Luckily, we have a good amount of disposable income, so we won't have to get in debt paying for it all. Only our nearest and dearest will be there. Lawrence has his parents, his sister Deanna, and brother-in-law Frank, and their 2 little boys, both under 12. We're also inviting Frank's parents because they are genuinely nice people who have helped us out, especially Frank's mom, Layla, who's going wedding dress shopping with me, Deanna, and mom-in-law, Mary. I'd have my parents and 2 siblings there. My concern is that neither my parents or my siblings are well off. I have 2 siblings, Bradley, 34 male, and Alphonse, 28 male. Both have ASD and are in social employment where they basically have a job doing piecework for stores and are subsidized by the government. My dad is 66 and retired, and my mom is 64 and on disability after a work accident. I am not privy to the details of their finances, but I know from previous discussions that a €500 car repair bill was a shocking amount. Naturally, when I let them know our wedding date, my mom started planning travel and hotel costs. I looked up the cost for 2 rooms for them at hotels close by, and my heart just sank. Added to the fact that I have traveled 2 times in the past year to visit them, and each time the plane tickets were 200 plus euros for just me, even if they go to a budget chain, think Holiday Inn Express, it'll still cost them well over 2,000 euros, not the local currency, but converted. All in all, travel, lodgings, not to mention new clothes for the wedding, travel documents, visa applications. I really worry about how they'll afford it. I have mentioned from the beginning that I don't insist on their presence, that me and Lawrence are more than happy to travel to visit them after the wedding, to celebrate with them in their hometown. But I'm worried that they will feel obligated to be here for the wedding itself. My parents would put themselves into overdraft with the bank to make it here to see me marry the man who truly makes me happy. Oh. And while it warms my heart to know how much they love me, I love them in turn and don't want them to scrimp and scrape to make it to witness my wedding. This is lovely. This is so sad, but like, I love that clearly OP is just very, very thoughtful.
And understanding.
I don't want my parents to, put themselves into debt to come to my wedding. And on the other hand, we have the parents who clearly just love their daughter so much, and she knows that they'll do it.
It's just so much love. It's just great. But now comes the monetary funds.
If I could contribute to help them with the costs, I would. But Lawrence and I can't afford to support their travel while also paying for the wedding. We're lucky we both want a small, simple wedding, so it won't cost too much. But I'm also realistic about the hidden costs we may encounter, things we forgot to budget for, etc. If I were to tell my parents and siblings that I would prefer them not to come and that we'll visit them after the wedding to celebrate our wedding with them in my home country, we'd bring our wedding photos and videos if we decide to get a videographer. We'd go for a dinner in a nice restaurant with them, and I'd offer them a framed print of their favorite picture of our wedding to hang up if they want. Would that make me an a-hole? And there is an update, but that is kind of what I was going to suggest.
That's like the best thing you could do that's not breaking the bank.
My parents, some of you may know, my mom is from Australia, but when she and my dad got married, because obviously it would have been a destination wedding for one side of the family, they decided to have, I think, the wedding ceremony in America.
Okay.
And then the reception in Australia. And
Or
so
vice
then
versa.
both families were able to attend one part of it. And, you know.
I think that's the best thing.
Yeah.
And it seems like OP is communicating, one,
Yeah.
her feelings, which is great, and two, like, okay, if this doesn't work, this is the plan.
Yes.
And
which I think is the way to go.
I think hopefully what I'm scared of is the family is going to be like, oh, no, we want to come and make it, and or like it's going to get into a debacle. I hope not,
I hope there's no debacle.
but we're going to find out.
Update. I got some excellent advice here telling me that ultimately my parents and siblings should make their own choices, which is also a fair point.
Yes.
And I should just indicate that I would be happy for them to be here, but just as happy to support their presence in the wedding in alternative ways, live streaming the ceremony and visiting them for a celebration with them afterwards. And I just want to share the situation worked itself out.
Okay, great.
Amazing. My mom rang me a couple of days ago, and after some small talk about wedding preparations and small things going on in her life, she's losing hair again. Ugh, honestly, F cancer and chemo. No worries, she's being followed up so tightly her OBGYN knows what she has for breakfast before the first bite. She's very careful and in her soothing mum way told me that it's as good as certain that my brothers won't make it to the wedding. Oldest bro, Bradley, 34 male, has never been far outside his comfort zone. And with his ASD, he's just not mentally resilient enough to A, travel on a plane, B, travel abroad, C, stay in a hotel, D, eat different food, E, meet a ton of new people, F, while dressed up in uncomfortable clothes, and G, while his sister's not able to spend a lot of time with him. Me and my brothers, due to our ASD, are really close, so don't come at me or my brother. We have a habit of doing our own little things to soothe each other, but obviously we can't do that at my wedding. And because Bradley has a history of going hungry next to a full pantry, not because he can't make the food or doesn't want to, but because he will literally forget to eat, my younger brother, Alphonse, 28 male, will stay at home with him. By the way, you can stay with us by joining us live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST on Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube. Just tap our profile. There is a little bit left, but I think it seems like they're sorting it out.
This seems like there's no pressure,
Yeah.
which is the best thing. There's no stress.
Exactly.
Everyone's understanding, like, hey, if we did
can't do
come, it's going to be stressful. We don't want to do that for you. It's your day. Just come over here when you guys can, and we'll celebrate then and there. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Or do the live stream. I love that.
The live stream is also
This
a
is
lovely
like
idea.
so, there's no stress. I'm not
No.
worried. I'm not freaking out. This is great.
No, I like sometimes when our Reddit stories, the stress is circumstantial, not because of the horrible people in it.
No,
There's
it's
no
exactly.
horrible people in
This just seems like this is well communicated and everyone's very understanding. Wow, you don't get those very often here, and that's great.
Not on
It's like a
our
breath of
Reddit.
fresh air here.
My mom and dad will still come, but this way my brothers can support them with the costs of travel, etc. It essentially halves the cost. My brothers will happily sit and watch a live stream of the wedding, and they're honestly not fussed about the celebrations because it's just food and music. So all worked itself out just as you guys predicted. Thank you all for your advice. And that is the end of that story.
Awesome.
My sister is upset I didn't meet her wedding gift expectations, so she badmouthed me to her bridesmaids.
Oh, gross. She got a bad mouth. You better close that thing. It
Better
stinks.
wash that mouth out. This happened last October 2024. My sister, 27, is about to get married. Let's set the stage. And so therefore, tension, excitement, both high. Being the eldest and a person who has also gotten married before, I understand and braced myself for some Bridezilla moments here and there from my sister. By the way, this comes from OKFish52222 on the OK Storytime subreddit. So right after she was officially engaged to my now brother-in-law, I already thought of lending her my wedding gown. I know some people treasure their wedding gowns completely, and the idea of lending or selling it kind of feels like throwing away its sentimental value. Well, I feel the same, but I love my sister a lot. The thought of lending my gown felt like passing on the happiness I felt when I got married, like I wanted her to feel the same way and more. This is very sweet. Everything's perfect.
Yeah, you're trying to pass on the good vibes.
Let the good vibes roll.
Let the good vibes roll.
Thus, when she expressed her interest, I did not hesitate and offered some dates when she can come over for fitting, to see, of course, if there will be any need for repairs/adjustments. I prepped the gown, had it dry cleaned again, etc., etc. She went to my house, tried the gown on, and left. Around a week before her wedding, there's this thing that's been bugging me that I feel like I had to tell her before she gets married. This may be where I am the a-hole.
Uh-oh.
What did you say? I thought it's better to get it out of the way, and I considered it as my last special talk with her before she gets married. For context, it's kind of traditional for us to have a heart-to-heart talk with the parents before getting married. Parents usually offer life advice and or expectations. Some treat it as a rite of passage into a new chapter. Since our parents are basically absent for most of our lives, I had to step up and be the third but present parent to my siblings. Birthdays, graduations, weddings, parent-teacher conferences, wow. You name it, and most likely, I'm there. Oh, I forgot I'm at least 5 years older than my siblings, so I practically raised them. This is the only reason why I'm holding off with having my own child. I grew too tired of taking care of them, the late night crying and feeding them, changing their diapers, etc. OMG, I'm crying again. So OP's heavily parentified for their whole life.
Literally
Yeah.
pulled up the bootstraps, put on the overalls, and got to work.
Was like
as
12
a
and
parent.
was like, well, I guess I got to go to this parent-teacher conference. So yeah, going back, I thought I'll have the special talk with my sister a week before her wedding. The first few minutes were just us expressing our excitement about the wedding, then talking about the drama of our mother, about our plans after the wedding, etc. Then I not so subtly transitioned the conversation to my one big concern. Sometime during the wedding preparation, we talked about some of the gifts that she would want, and she casually mentioned, non-verbatim, that, hey, I spent this much, enter a quite hefty amount for your wedding, clearly reminding me of how much she spent and also giving me a hint that I have to spend at least the same amount as a gift to her wedding. I felt off right away, mainly because we have never talked like this before. I don't know how to explain it, but there's this silent agreement amongst us that when we are gifting each other, we never have to remind one another of the amount we spent just to make sure that we'll get the same value.
I think that's like an unspoken thing among all people who
Just
exist.
anyone. Yeah, it's like, don't be like, hey, I got you $100 gift, so you should think about that when you're buying me a gift.
Yeah, I did a little research. Seems like your gift is lacking $17.37 of value.
A little cheap this year.
Yeah, maybe you can get me back. Maybe buy me a little lunch
Maybe
or
buy me a
something.
coffee sometime. Who's to say? For example, my brother covers most of the expenses when we go out for my birthday. We all know this for a fact, but he never once had to remind me of this before his birthday. Or when I spend the most during the Christmas season, planning and paying for the venue of our get-together and stuff, I never once felt the need to remind them of this to get the same amount in return. We are used to spending for one another, not expecting to be paid back, unless maybe when there's a prior agreement to chip in. I don't know, the act of offering to pay or to gift without mentioning the price made it more genuine. It created a culture of paying it forward without being pressured if you're giving enough. That's why when my sister mentioned a specific price/amount, I felt pressured. And my initial thought of lending her my gown doesn't feel so special anymore. I felt pressured to spend the same amount, and when she went to my house to get the gown, I unconsciously mentioned that I have spent the same amount for the dry cleaning and petticoat to just put her at ease. I told her all of these during our special talk. I also told her that you don't You know you don't have to remind me of how much you've spent, since you know that I will be willing to give you more without this kind of pressure. Take note that by this time, she already has my wedding gown. Everything about the wedding plans are almost settled. So I was about to end the conversation with expressing my best wishes to her wedding and how much I love her, but she went berserk and had a breakdown. She accused me of doing this for my peace of mind and not thinking of her. She berated me about not being able to prioritize her, that I could have waited after the wedding to stress her out all like this. She suddenly remembered me mentioning the price I spent in prepping the gown and that it's now tainted with malice. Ooh.
I don't know. It seems a little extra.
See, just a little bit.
But it's like the only reason that happened is because you were like, hey,
Yeah.
remember how much I spent?
Yeah. I apologized for stressing her, but explained that this was never my intention and that I don't want this to be the first topic of our conversation right after she got married. As I've mentioned, I just wanted to get this out of the way. The ending was just so messy and it left me feeling guilty. She later on asked our brother, 29, if his nuclear family could just stay in her apartment the night before the wedding. She said she'd rather reallocate the money for the hotel room to pay me back and buy a different gown. Whoa. That's just too far. Admittedly, I went ballistic after this because my brother has a child and there will not be enough room for them in her tiny apartment. So I told her to stop being petty and she doesn't need to return the gown. I have never witnessed this kind of pettiness before from her, so I was mad and told her to grow up. I told her that I'm trying to move past the disrespect and pettiness, but she's making it hard to do so. I also told her that if she cannot stand me and she's that mad about me bringing all of this up, she can remove me from her special day. I know I could have handled it better, but I'm just infuriated and shocked that she can involve and inconvenience our only niece, 8, just to be petty. She further did something that she has never done before, as far as I know. She badmouthed me to all of her bridesmaids. I heard they had a blast talking crap about me, and they, one by one, left the group chat where we're planning the bachelorette party. I was the main planner, by the way. And one of the girls even asked me to pay for the cake before leaving the group chat. I paid just to be done with it. So, she did not reach out to us to make plans for Christmas. We never celebrate Christmas apart except during the pandemic, but even then we were video chatting each other. I see her going out with friends and celebrating with them, but never made plans with us. And again, for anybody jumping in, this is OP's entitled sister after there was a bit of a wedding fiasco. My brother asked about our plans, but she answered that she will be celebrating with a friend and did not reply and left the rest of the conversation unread. It's like she left the group without leaving the group. I don't know how to get past this. I'm sorry, but I don't feel guilty. I'm still pretty mad about how she reacted. I feel like she's blown everything out of proportion, but most of all, I'm really hurt. It feels like an end of an era for us. We stuck together through good and bad times, and I can't believe it ends like this. Should I be guilty? Maybe I deserve it. Am I the a-hole?
I think you both kind of suck in this story, honestly.
I think there was kind of a overreact. Like there was obviously an overreaction on Opie's sister's part, but I think maybe the timing of that, bringing up that conversation, was not the best. Like a week before the wedding. I think there was mistakes made on both sides, and I think the sister took it pretty far.
Well, neither of them felt like they needed to apologize, and so every time they came, you know, every time it came to a head, it just like got more intense. Yeah, because both of them were like, "Well, I don't need to back down." Yeah, and now it
sounds like they're both very, very proud.
Yeah, and I don't think necessarily it has to be like the end of an era or whatever. It's like y'all can just
that was like one tiny
move on
thing. That was like a very tiny thing to get this upset over.
Yeah, you can move forward. Like I don't know. I think there was some there's probably some other history that we aren't clued into.
I mean, Opie's also been kind of parentified.
There was
and
also,
so there's probably also that kind of tension of getting parenting or like getting parented by your sibling, of being like, you're not my mom, but there is that kind of.
It's like, well, I did raise you. Yeah. My half sister claimed she had nothing to wear to a wedding, so she wore her wedding dress.
don't know if that was the right solution.
I think it might be better to wear nothing.
I think it might be. Just maybe.
The cast. Oh boy, here we go. John, my brother. Jane, my sister-in-law. Susan, my half-sister, and me. By the way, this comes from user TTalGbell, and you can submit your stories at the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, back in the year 2016, my brother announced that he and his girlfriend of many years were engaged and were planning on having a wedding the following year. They gave 9 months' notice, at least, to people who would be invited and also told what the color theme for the wedding would be: purple. Purple.
That's a nice color theme.
In that time, between the announcement and the wedding date, I was easily able to order a dress from an online retailer in London, have it sent to me, and still had time to replace it if I needed, which I did not. 2017 comes, and the wedding weekend has arrived. I live in a different state to my brother, as my mom and I moved from our hometown back in 2013, so we both had to travel across the ocean back to the mainland to attend the wedding. The wedding was absolutely gorgeous. Sunny day on the beach. I couldn't help but cry because my piece of work of a brother was actually marrying the mother of his children and love of his life. He had never seemed happier.
Aw,
There we go.
it's lovely.
John and Jane had 3 kids together already, and the older 2 were flower girls, which was sweet. Now, John is technically only my half-brother. We share a mom, but not a dad yet. But not a dad. Yet growing up, it was my dad who raised John and I. So to him, my dad was his dad.
Oh, so sweet.
Okay, so they're brothers, but
great.
technically half-brothers, but
Yeah.
raised by the same guy,
Lovely.
same different dads, raised by the same
Dad.
My dad, prior to marrying my mom, had a first wife and a couple of kids with that wife, including Susan. John and I have always had some issues with Susan. She was only my half-sister, not John's, but he still included her in the wedding, and as such, a family member and guest. I hadn't noticed at the time, as I was too caught up in the whirlwind of my brother's wedding ceremony, but Susan wasn't wearing purple. No. She was wearing white.
Susan, no.
What are you doing,
What are you doing,
Suze?
Suze?
Susan, what are you doing?
Susan.
Ay. To
You
be
hate to see it.
specific, she was wearing her white wedding dress
That's insane.
to someone else's wedding. Yeah, that's insane.
crazy.
That's
Like
insane.
to be put on the dress and be like, yeah, this is fine. This is a good idea.
She's like, this is the closest thing I have to purple.
Sorry, guys.
Can't help
Everything was-
myself.
Everything else was dirty. I couldn't
Mhm.
help it.
Couldn't help it. I only had 12 months
Yeah.
to find a dress that would work.
No, sorry.
John and Jane were pissed, understandably, especially Jane. Cue the reception. Some people have changed clothes. It was my first ever wedding, so I didn't think that far ahead and still wore my soft lilac dress without a problem. While everyone ate and shared some drinks and interacted with the bride and groom, which what I assume to be a normal wedding type vibe. But Susan.
Not Susan.
Oh, Susan.
Not Susan. Don't do it to me, Susan.
Don't do it to me, Susan.
Don't do it.
She was feeling extremely sad and lonely because no one was paying attention to her. Oh, no one's paying
boo-hoo,
attention
it's
to
not your
me
day,
at
Susan.
someone else's wedding.
Maybe you should wait until your birthday, or maybe you should get married if you want people to pay attention to you.
Susan, I'm
Did you
about
think about that?
to
No.
hit you with the purple.
Fireworks. Nice.
Okay. The 30-year-old woman who wore her wedding dress to someone else's wedding. I wonder why no one wanted to interact with her. Susan began crying maybe halfway through the reception, openly, loudly, and in a way that clearly begged for someone to come
She's like,
notice her.
Oh, and everyone's like, ignore her.
She's
like,
literally in the back all the
Oh, the humanity! And everyone's like, don't look at Susan, or she'll start throwing hands.
Susan.
She'll do
And then
something.
someone goes, what's wrong? She goes, oh, nothing. Nothing.
She just goes,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, what's wrong, Susan? She's like, it's fine. It's not my day.
It's fine. It's not my day. Do you like my dress? I am a nice person, so I tried to be the good half-sister that I should be and bit the bullet to go sit with her for a while. I asked her what's wrong. Susan. No one's paying attention to me. Me, while staring at her, confused a little. You say,
what do you mean?
Susan. Everyone is talking with John and Jane, but no one is talking to me. And when I try to speak with John and Jane, they don't talk to me. I sighed internally, or maybe externally, and couldn't help but wonder how she didn't connect the dots. Me.
Susan, it's their wedding. Of course everyone's going to be talking to them, and they're going to be busy.
Susan. I don't care. I'm John's sister, so he should talk with me more. Actually, lady, you're not his sister. I am. But okay, that's whatever. I was able to slip away and spent some time with some other family who weren't acting as if this day were all about them. After the ceremony, Jane admitted to me that she was livid about how Susan wore that wedding dress. She had plenty of time to prepare and plan for the wedding and get appropriate attire. But when finally confronted, Susan said she had no other dress she could wear. It's just simply...
Just don't have anything else in my closet.
Simply the only
I know I had
thing.
12 months, but I was busy.
I haven't done laundry in 12 months.
In 12 months. That's not my fault.
I'm constantly buying clothes every day. I don't have the
Everyone's
money.
trying to crucify me. It's not my fault. I didn't have any other options.
This is perhaps a boring tale to most, but even 3, nearly 4 years later, I'm still pissed at my half-sister for doing that. My mom, John, and Jane are also pissed about it still. I've since cut contact with Susan. Her and I never had a good bond anyway, and as far as I could see it, we just shared a dad. But I almost never had to deal with my dad's previous family. As far as I know, John and Jane have limited contact with her, but that can't be helped, as they live in the same city as her now, while I happily live in a place where an ocean is between me and her.
She's like, she is as far as she can possibly be from me.
There is an edit. I finally had a chance to speak to my mom about Dad's previous marriage, as I had some comments expressing concern that my dad's lack of commitment to his other kids was of concern. And here's what I found out. My dad was baby-trapped in the marriage by his first wife. When she fell pregnant, my dad stepped up and did what at the time was appropriate and married her, as he believed the child was his and the first wife said it was his baby. After the baby was born, she admitted the son was not my dad.
Whoa.
You're not my dad. Or I'm not your dad. Okay, never mind. Despite the son not being dad's, he stayed with the first wife to raise the child still.
Wow.
First wife then falls pregnant with a second child. This one is Susan, and Susan is my dad's. First wife had a nasty habit of abandoning dad and the kids for days and weeks at a time without saying anything. Oh,
Not great,
she's
not
just
great.
pulling, she's just being mysterious.
Doing a little Gone Girl moment.
Yeah, just a little gone girl. She's good. She'll come back. This left Dad to look after both babies alone until she came back. I believe this was some of her affair habits. On a random night, first wife actually packed all her things and the kids' things before taking both son and Susan, leaving my dad, who woke the next day to the aftermath of first wife leaving. It was the first wife who disassociated from my dad for no actual reason. Mom told me that Dad had no choice but to give up rights to the son and Susan because first wife wouldn't let him interact with them at all, nor herself. Please note, my dad was not abusive to her in any way. Rather, the first wife was the violent one, and Mom explained that there was something wrong with her mentally, but she never sought help. There was also a period of time after Dad married my mom and after I was born that first wife was entirely out of control. And then Dad took in both son and Susan to live with us for a few months, but the son was a violent child. Susan wasn't any better, and both my parents had to contact child welfare after an incident where my brother was taken to the hospital because son had cracked his head open. And John needed stitches. Because first wife's son was a clear danger to myself and John, it was decided Dad and Mom couldn't keep looking after them. But by the way, I want you to look after yourself. And you can
us.
do so connect by listening to full episodes with stories like this. All you got to do is go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Search OK Storytime. Just give it a search.
Just give it a whirl.
Give it a try.
Give it the old college try.
And yeah, there you can listen to like infinite number
So infinite.
of stories.
Never ends.
But
You're a bottomless pit.
But you know
of
what does
stories.
end this story, and we do
Dang.
have a little bit of story left. But like, where are we at? What are we
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
right now? 'Cause-
Susan's just kind of seems like a mess. Seems like she learned from her mom,
yeah,
or maybe didn't learn from her mom because her mom wasn't there. That's sad.
it seems like
Susan's
behavior is a byproduct of her tumultuous upbringing,
Yeah, I would say so.
potentially.
I think so.
Doesn't excuse it. However, it does shed light
Shed
onto
light.
maybe why.
Yeah, like if I were writing a story, like a novel, I'd be like, here's the full character arc of how Susan became a terrible person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how Susan ended up wearing a wedding dress
Yeah.
to another person's wedding.
This is all how
Because
it
that's
lines up.
unhinged behavior.
Pretty bad.
That's
pretty
like
bad.
wear a t-shirt and jeans
Yeah.
before you do that.
Yeah.
But
Let's hit this end.
and it looks like the rest of the story. Okay, well, never mind. There was one bullet point. There's one more bullet point here. There were multiple affairs that the first wife had while married to my dad, including a third child that wasn't my dad's, but his best friend's. First wife also had another 2 children after the divorce and tried to claim my dad was the father, even though this was after my dad had married my mom. DNA tests were done, and all of the children, and of all of the children, only Susan, the second born, was my dad's child. I hope this helps to clear up anything people were worried about. First wife is also an extreme narcissist, which could explain Susan's behavior.
Yeah, I think it does.
And
'Cause
that,
she seems like an extreme narcissist.
yeah, ding, 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 we figured it out, folks.
You win a prize.
The mother infected the daughter with her bad behavior. But that is the
Man.
end of that story. Her crazy in-laws won't let her wear a white wedding dress at her own wedding.
What? That's like the time when you're allowed to wear the white dress.
No. Didn't you just hear her in-laws, dude? It's not allowed.
Pow pow.
I work at a hotel near a popular wedding venue that can have 3 weddings in one day at the same time, as there are multiple places to hold 100 to 200 people on the property. By the way, this comes from user Little Bumpy, and you can submit your stories on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, well, during wedding season, I came across someone in a wedding crying in our back stairway. I asked if there was anything I could do to help her. She asked if I had time to hear her story because she needed someone to talk to who wasn't at the wedding. As she said, the sister of the groom won't let her wear the white dress she wanted to. She went on about how she had paid for the venue and the groom's choice of catering instead of what the bride wanted. She also paid for all the hotel rooms with people paying her back for it, but the groom and groom's family hasn't paid her yet, and she got them all suites, which were $300 a night during our busy season, and they were there for 5 days and 4 nights. She also paid for most of the decor and the wedding party's outfits. The groom's entire family is against her wearing the white dress she wanted to wear. At this moment, I was thinking about how even if someone paid for my entire wedding, I wouldn't allow them to wear white on my wedding day. And she said exactly that. She was like, I know what you're thinking. It doesn't matter how much I've paid for. I shouldn't wear white to someone else's wedding. But then she hit me with, I'm the effing bride.
Ooh, she really waited until it was like pack to punch.
Pack a punch. Punch to pack.
I'm the bride. Ba, ba, ba. And she did it
and
just
then
like
she had
that.
she
And
had
then she flipped.
She had it on her phone ready to
Yeah.
play.
Ba, ba, ba. And then she did a flip off the stairs.
I was floored. Who doesn't let the bride wear white to their own wedding? So she continued on with the story while I was in shock. The groom's sister was there for every dress appointment along with the groom's mom, who's now just going to be sister-in-law and mother-in-law. Well, both mother and sister-in-law kept making comments that sister-in-law would look better in the dresses than the bride would. At the last appointment she had for trying dresses, she was finally able to bring her mom and the groom, hoping that would stop sister-in-law and mother-in-law from making those comments. Big surprise, it didn't. They just stopped saying them out loud and instead sent messages in the family group chat that they didn't realize the groom was in. The groom didn't see the messages as he shut off the phone to focus on the bride. They discovered the messages later that night. A couple days after that last appointment, she was added to the family group chat and bombarded with colorful dress choices and told she had to wear a colorful dress because sister-in-law found a dress she wanted to wear and it was white, so the bride wouldn't wear white?
That's insane. That's insane. All of the people who were like, oh, like in the chat were saying, oh, they maybe like she's not a virgin and so that's why they won't let her wear white. But no, that's already crazy. But like whole new level of crazy to be like, yeah, she wants to wear white, so you can't wear white on your wedding day.
The most unhinged thing I've ever heard in a wedding story. Demanding that the sister-in-law gets to wear a white dress
at her
instead
wedding.
of the bride.
Crazy. Why don't you have a freaking wedding? Oh, wait. No one will marry you because you're terrible.
You stink! Another bit of backstory she told me was that sister and mother-in-law both have bipolar and are kind of babied and spoiled by the family because of that. So no one else in the family besides the groom stood up for her wearing white to the wedding, and they all messaged her privately to just wear a colorful dress and let sister-in-law wear the white dress. Crazy.
At least the groom
Literally
stood
insane.
up. At least the groom stood up, because sometimes we're in these situations.
The one person who does should.
And the groom is like, well, that's what they want. But at least he's like, no, that's crazy.
She bought a white wedding dress, and when sister-in-law found out, she came to their apartment to find the dress and destroy it? They have ring camera footage of sister-in-law screaming and banging on their door, demanding the dress because the bride wouldn't wear a white dress. She was wearing the white dress. This is just unhinged. Well, sister-in-law and mother-in-law never got to the dress, but they tried canceling the bride's alterations. But the bride had seen a couple TikToks on keeping meddling family away from things. So she set up passwords for all the stuff she had for the wedding so they wouldn't change anything. Well, sister-in-law still bought the white dress and has been showing everyone pictures of it, going on about how she'll be so beautiful in it at the wedding. Then, and the bride doesn't know how they got pictures of it, they posted sister-in-law's dress and the bride's dress on Facebook and asked everyone to vote on which one was better.
Oh my God.
These people, like...
They can't stop. Elope.
Yeah,
Elope.
Have your own little wedding without
away,
them.
far, far away from these people.
Yes, 100%.
Insane people. I'm sorry. Like, your husband might be standing up for you, but like, he needs to uninvite them at this point. Because this is despicable behavior.
He needs to be really upset. Okay, so they deleted the which one is better post when multiple people voted for the bride's dress instead of sister-in-law's.
Yes.
Haha. The bride's whole family is behind her in this fight, but she has a small family compared to the groom's side, and they have been the louder side in this fight. Then the next part was given to them by the groom's brother. The mother-in-law and sister-in-law found out what the groom's tux will look like and bought sister-in-law's boyfriend the exact same tuxedo, custom-ordered fabric and color and cufflinks that the bride bought. The bride got custom-engraved 24-karat gold cufflinks of the groom's favorite band. Brother-in-law is a part of a new family group chat that excludes the bride and groom and was sending all the updates from that chat to the couple. Well, the bride was able to get to sister-in-law's white dress and ruined it with a black fabric paint marker just before they left to come here.
Oh
No,
God.
this is good.
Okay, I flipped them in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Nice!
Sister-in-law found it a couple hours ago and has been ranting that it was obviously the bride and how the bride is ruining her special day.
Really, it's not your special
You
day.
stupid
Ditto.
Oh, I'm getting upset. Sister-in-law had to get a new dress from a local thrift store that had no wedding dress code, appropriate dresses in white. Brother-in-law sent them a screenshot from the chat and made the bride start crying and started the whole fight that led her to crying in our back stairs. So now we know how it's.
So is this at the wedding?
How
Is
it
this
got there.
Day of the wedding?
This is the wedding is happening now.
Oh, and so she's
That's what's
crying in the
happening.
stairs. She's crying
in the stairs
on her wedding day.
Yep.
Someone, I'm about to. Ow.
So sister-in-law and mother-in-law have been planning for sister-in-law's boyfriend's family to come up the day of the wedding, and before the bride and groom get married, sister-in-law and her boyfriend will have a promise ceremony where in front of their family and friends they will promise to love each other forever and get married one day in the future.
Who?
Sister-in-law
The
and her
sister-in-law
boyfriend.
and her freaking boyfriend are about to have a promise ceremony at this poor woman's wedding.
That does seem to be exactly what's going to happen. Well, technically, it's not at the wedding. It's the day before. With these and other screenshots, the groom calls both their families into their suite and starts in on his mother and sister about how this is supposed to be his and his wife's day and not his sister's. His mother and sister started crying about how his sister isn't ready for marriage, but because they're so poor, when she is ready, she won't be able to have the amazing wedding that he is, and she just wants to borrow their wedding so she can have an amazing one too, and none of this would be happening if he wasn't marrying such a stuck-up butthole. Well, that's just about one of the most entitled things I've ever read in my life. This set the bride off, and she ran out crying while her family put them in their place. And now she's talking to me about it while she waits for everyone to calm down. A few other things she mentioned that I feel with how I'm not good at relaying back info would have made the story non-cohesive. The groom is in grad school and took out loans to go, so he really has no money. That's why the bride paid for everything. The bride has a really well-paying job, and her family has a lot of savings, even though they are in the same economic class as the groom's family. So they helped pay for the wedding. She chose the groom's choice for catering because it's the only thing about the wedding he really, really cared about. He told her multiple times he'd rather just go to the courthouse, sign the paper, and just go get dinner at their place.
Yeah, because
or at the place that's catering after.
He knows what his family's like.
He's
like,
yeah,
I don't want
trust
to deal
me.
with this.
I know that this is not going to be fun.
No.
The bride's mom works a lot and couldn't make it to any dress appointments because the last one and the groom, besides the last one, and the groom couldn't because of school. She's always had problems with his sister-in-law and mother-in-law, but thought they could put them aside for the wedding. Oh, what a crazy thought. She's in the stairs by herself because she always does better calming down when she's by herself. And by the way, you know what you can always do better by yourself is listen to full episodes with stories like these. All you have to do is go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and search OK Storytime, and there you will find all the episodes that your heart could ever desire. And you can listen to them all alone, or you can tell your friends, tell your family, and they can listen to them as well. Would you have done anything differently? I mean, like,
If I were the
I would have
woman,
been like, I would have like hard cut off.
I would have cut off all
I'd have
these
been
people.
like,
I'd have
"You're
said,
not coming."
You're not coming to the wedding. This is my wedding. How dare you ask to borrow my wedding and try to wear white on my wedding? And I never want to see you guys again. Bye.
Any human being who is in support of me not wearing a white dress, you're gone. You're done.
Bye.
Goodbye. I was told by the front desk staff that they refunded the bride for mother and sister-in-law's rooms, then went to them for payment of the rooms. They left with father-in-law the next day and skipped the wedding.
Yay!
Yay!
That's what we like to hear.
Fun note, the bride invited me to the wedding, but I had to work that day, so I couldn't go. But we are
Lame.
friends on Facebook, so I get to see her mother-in-law and sister-in-law rants on Facebook about how now that sister-in-law is getting married, she's not going to be able to have the wedding she wants.
Boo-hoo.
Let me know in the comments if this was too confusing. I'll try to get a hold of the bride, but I don't think she'll answer me as we haven't talked since her invite to the wedding. And that is the end. I appreciate the dedication, OP.
Yeah, OP's like, I will find
Like,
out.
I will find. You did a good job, OP. I feel like
Yeah,
that
it
was
a good
pretty.
day. Yeah.
It was pretty clear. Yeah. Don't be afraid to not let problematic people go to your wedding, even if they're directly related to you.
Literally.
I think that's the
don't let them
takeaway
go to
from
the
that.
wedding if you don't want them at the wedding.
My sister stole and ruined my wedding dress. I am not sending them an invitation.
Well, maybe you should have got a different dress, a backup dress.
So, I am a 28-year-old female, and my sister, Amy, is 38. When we were younger, our parents told us they had money saved for us to use when we got married. Amy has been married and divorced 4 times to 4 different men.
Let's go. That's a lot of money.
The first time she got married, she was only a few weeks away from graduating high school, but dropped out to marry husband number 1. Which you don't need to drop out of high school to get married, you freaking idiot. Maybe if you would have stayed in high school, you would have learned that. By the way, this comes from user XXI throw up glitter XX. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. So now I have to be careful with certain details, because if my parents or Amy knew I posted this, they would be infuriated. But I really need to know if I am the booty hole in this situation. Long story short, now that I'm engaged and getting married, I assumed I would be paying for most of the wedding. The only thing I really wanted help with was the wedding dress. When I talked to my mom about it, she told me there wasn't any money left because Amy had needed it for divorces and changing her name back and her weddings. I'm not trying to be entitled or spoiled, but it seems extremely unfair that my sister got to have 4 huge weddings, including a $34,000 honeymoon for one of them, while I got nothing. I chalked it up as a loss. Another important detail: I wasn't invited to any of Amy's 4 weddings. I'm adopted, and she's my adoptive parents' biological daughter. Favoritism was always played, and she bullied me relentlessly when we were kids. Despite that, I still wanted her at my wedding. I have a small group of friends, so when it came to picking out my wedding dress, I wanted Amy to be there. Everything was fine. I picked out my dress, and then the gates of the flaming lake of fire broke open. I had my dress hanging in my closet, protected in a plastic garment bag, and then my fiance's mom, who lives in Texas, a 20-hour drive away from us, got very sick and broke her hip. She needed someone to care for her, so my fiance and I went to Texas and stayed there for about a month. Before leaving, I asked Amy if she could watch my cats and rabbit. Just feed them and check in on them while we're gone. She agreed. Fast forward to when we finally get home. As soon as we walk in, I have an awful gut feeling that something is wrong. I check around the house and nothing seems stolen. The animals are okay, and then it hits me. I go to check on my dress, and it's gone. I started freaking out and tell my fiance. He asks, "Where did you have it last?" And I tell him it was in the extra bedroom closet hanging up. We start searching everywhere, and then I start calling Amy. Straight to voicemail. I call again. Voicemail. I even tried calling from my fiance's phone in case she blocked me, but still voicemail.
All right, we pulling up then.
You pull up, hop out at the after party?
Yep.
I call my parents. They think I'm being ridiculous, insisting Amy would never steal my wedding dress. I feel like I'm being gaslit, and I'm absolutely furious. A few days later, Amy finally texts me, "Hey, can you go ahead and pay me for babysitting the cats and the rabbit?" I reply, "Yeah, but first, I need to know what the frick happened to my frickin' dress, dude." She acts confused, pretending not to know what I'm talking about. What's a dress? What is that? Like a shirt that's also pants? So weird.
I didn't know the difference between a dress and a skirt for a while.
Now we have security cameras. One in the front yard, one in the backyard. So I check the footage, and guess what? I see Amy carrying out the dress in her stupid little hands, and still it's in its plastic covering on a hanger. Eurostep. I immediately send her the video and text, "I know you took my dress, you little stupid idiot. Where is it?" Her response, "Oh, I just wanted to make sure you paid me for babysitting the animals, and then I'll bring your dress back. You're psycho." So I pay her, and then she says, "Okay, I can bring the dress to you sometime this week." I wait and wait and wait. Girl, you're waiting? Show up to the door with a hammer. Bang, 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 bang. She's taking your wedding dress as collateral? Yeah, freaking right. She's lying to you. She's lying to you. She took your dress because she's a sick freak. Yes, show up at her house with a blowtorch and cut the door off of its hinges. What the heck? What are we doing waiting around? Take action. She keeps making excuses. "I'm busy. I'm at work. I'm not home. The car's not working. The car's in the shop. Excuse after excuse. I finally call my parents again and tell them what's going on. That's when my mom accidentally spills the truth. Now, my mom is terrible at lying and tends to say things she shouldn't. She slips up and says that Amy accidentally got the dress dirty, tried to wash it in the washing machine, and completely ruined it.
You've had 4 weddings. You know how wedding dresses go. Why are you doing this?
When she's gotten divorced 4 times, it wipes her memory. She has no memory of her wedding. She did this on purpose. I hope you understand. I hope we all understand. She didn't ruin the dress accidentally because she's a cruel, spiteful idiot. And OP, you have too much chill. You need to wake up and choose a little bit of violence. At this point, I'm panicking. I ask, what do you mean? Mom stumbles over her words and finally says, well, you need to call her and work it out. I'm sure she didn't mean to.
We literally have been calling her for days.
Fine, maybe she didn't mean to, but she still needs to replace my dress, which, girl, you are right. I call Amy and tell her she needs to pay me back for a new dress, and she starts crying on the phone. But I'm so stupid. She's saying sorry, and she doesn't want me to hate her, and she has no money, blah, 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 blah.
Conspiracy theory. She is ruining your dress because you are in a happy marriage, and she cannot stand the thought of it because she's been in 4 unhappy marriages, and she's jealous.
I call my parents again and say she doesn't have the money. What am I supposed to do? I can't afford another dress.
Just get married again.
She's doing Adam Sandler with your basketball shorts, t-shirt, hoodie. All right? On a real level, who cares? Would you get married in jeans and t-shirt?
If it was my last day on earth and I had to marry the love of my life, absolutely.
It's not your last day on earth, but the dress is spontaneously combusted. All your wedding clothes spontaneously combust, and all you have are jeans and t-shirt. Do you still do the wedding? Yes or no?
Knowing my girl, she got a backup dress.
My mom keeps telling me I need to forgive her and that it was an accident, and she even says, maybe you weren't meant to have that dress. Sometimes things happen for a reason. At this point, I'm beyond frustrated. So I start a GoFundMe. I post on Facebook explaining what happened, hoping for some help. Almost immediately, my parents call me, screaming that I'm embarrassing Amy, and she's really upset. They say I'm embarrassing them too and need to let it go. Forgive Amy and stop making a big drama out of it. I end up taking down the GoFundMe. It wasn't up for more than a day, and I hadn't even raised anything, but I'm still furious.
Nah, that's a good, campaign.
Yeah, my idiot sister ruined my wedding dress. I guess she forgot how wedding dresses work after being married 4 different times. Say, Lavi, will you help me buy a new dress for me, please? Okay, I'm mad that my parents didn't save any money for me, and I'm mad that Amy stole my dress. I'm mad that she ruined it, and I'm mad that no one is doing anything to replace it. Am I wrong for wanting her to pay for a new dress? Does that make me a bad sister? Am I the a-hole?
Low-key, you're being soft on your sister. Just gonna be real.
You need to get hard. Go harder.
What does that look like, Dakota?
It looks like what it feels to chew 5 gum. For the love of God, stop being the victim. Call the police. Report your dress stolen. Show the police the video and sue your sister for the cost of replacing your dress and damages. And do not allow any of these thieving buttholes anywhere near you or your wedding. You're grown up now. Act like it. OP replies, I really wanted to handle it without the police, but I guess you're right. I have to at this point. And now we have an update. I said it in that voice because OP's being a little baby. What would you do in this situation, Riley?
At the beginning, if she did not answer my calls, I'm going to her house and getting answers.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
If she got it dirty, she was trying on the dress.
I don't even think she got it dirty on accident. I think whatever she did to the dress, she did it on purpose.
Yeah. I'm going to her house and demanding it back.
How do you accidentally get the dress dirty? What did you do? You put it on and then you made coffee? Are you a complete buffoon? You moron? To be honest, anytime I wear anything white, I always stain it. So I can kind of empathize, but at the same time, I wouldn't be stealing anyone's wedding dress and trying it on. You sick freak. Update. I called my parents and my sister and had a 3-way call and explained that unless she replaced the dress or pay me back, I was going to place a police report. My sister started crying, and my parents said that I'm being immature.
Stop being a baby and sue your sister.
They said I need to stop and said family is family. So I said, then I'm doing a GoFundMe. Those are the options. And by the way, you have an option to listen to full episodes with stories just like this on iHeartRadio, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. All you got to do is search OK Storytime, and you will find 1,200 hours worth of stories to listen to. Let's finish this story off. My parents said, fine, but don't expect them to pitch in. And then told my sister she should pay whatever she can afford to help replace the dress. Amy says she will try to pay it off a little bit at a time since she gets paid every 2 weeks. At this point, I don't even care. All that matters is I'm getting married to the love of my life. I don't have to have a fancy dress, blue jeans and a t-shirt. But my parents and my sister will not be invited to my wedding. Good job. There we go. Keep that spine firm. It's a good thing I haven't mailed out the invitations yet because my parents and Amy won't be getting one. And that is the end. What a wonderful, wonderful time. You had a perfect response to this situation, which is, I don't even need a fancy dress. I'm getting married to the love of my life. It's more the principle. She ruined it. She's going to have to pay for it. And then, yeah, completely go low to no contact with the sister and maybe the parents. I mean, you're getting married and your sister had 4 marriages and 4 divorces. They paid for all of it. And they're like, oh, sorry, we can't help you.
It's like FAFSA with college. If you apply earlier, you get more money.
But that is the end of that.
My fiance's affair with my stepmother got exposed, so I ran away with his brother.
That's how you do it. That's the only option at the end of the day. And this is a direct submission.
Sigh. Okay, I'm new to all this, so please bear with me. So those involved are me, 28 female, my fiance, 29 male, my father, 53, my stepmom, 47, and my fiance's brother, 37. Yes, this isn't a family affair. By the way, this comes from Limp Dinner 21. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OKStorytime subreddit, and you'll get it read just like this one. Ooh. My fiance and I have been together for 4 years and engaged for a year. He met my whole family and I met his, except his older brother. His brother is a Marine and has been away. My fiance loves and looks up to his brother and has been sad that he can't get to leave for the wedding. But I've been working behind the scenes with his sister and yes, his brother to surprise him at our rehearsal dinner. I had been so anxious and excited for this surprise. It turns out I'd be the one surprised. The night before the rehearsal dinner, I spoke with his brother after his sister picked him up from the airport. He told me he planned not only on being the surprise, but also telling his brother that instead of re-upping in 3 months, he's retiring and moving home for good. I was so happy for my fiance, as he always wishes he can hang out more with his brother. The next day, D-Day, everything seemed fine except one of my bridesmaids was MIA. Her husband was also a groomsman. He said that she went to her sister's because there was some sort of family emergency and would meet him at the dinner. The rehearsal went well, but right after, before the dinner, the missing in action bridesmaid showed up and pulled one of the other bridesmaids. I was too focused on my surprise for my fiance to investigate. Literally 5 minutes before I was about to bring out my fiance's brother, 2 bridesmaids came out yelling and screaming at their significant others, both groomsmen. That's when all heck broke loose. I mean, all of the skeletons were blasted out of the closet. Both groomsmen were sleeping with the same woman. And who was the woman? Dun, dun, dun. My stepmom. Ah! Wait, that's not all.
This is so messy.
Because as all this was unfolding, I looked at my fiance to exchange WTF looks, and he was sweating bullets. Something he does when he's nervous or scared. Then I follow his line of sight. He was exchanging looks with my stepmom. Then he looked at me and ran over to me, grabbed my hand, and started towards the exit.
Oh.
My bridesmaid then called my fiance saying he also had been spicy sleeping with my mom.
No.
At first I thought, no way. When I looked back at my fiance, his silence and the look on his face said everything.
No! I knew it.
I suddenly felt like I was having an out-of-body experience. Like I was hovering over this mess of a scene while it unfolded. Everyone was yelling and screaming at each other. My stepmom was crying as she confirmed it was all true while denials and lame butt explanations were being thrown around. It was surreal, and suddenly I felt my legs give out and was about to hit the ground when I was caught and carried out by my fiance's brother, whom we will call Zach.
He freaking rushed in there like your white knight, man.
I could hear exclamations of, "What are you doing here?" and "When did you get here?" But honestly, it all sounded muffled to me.
Oh, right, because no one knew except for OP that
It was a
Zach was coming.
surprise.
Yeah, he was supposed to be coming back. So he literally swoops in out of nowhere and is like, "Come on!"
Jacked.
And everyone's like,
"Ooh."
what? When did you get back? He's like, no,
Yeah.
you messed with OP.
Oh my.
He's running.
Next thing I knew, Zach was pulling up to a cabin. We sat in silence for what seemed like hours. Then he spoke and said he bought this cabin to live in when he came home for good in 3 months. We got out and he helped me inside, as I was still visibly shaken. I don't remember a whole lot from that first night, but the next morning I woke up to find my phone had been blowing up all night and morning. Zach said he silenced my phone so I could rest. He made me
He
breakfast.
stayed with you?
He made me breakfast and said whenever I was ready to talk, he'd listen and never push me to say anything or respond to anyone. He just let me be. Honestly, it was just comforting to know he was around. Finally, around 7 p.m., I asked if he would sit with me while I reached out to my bridesmaids. We were all on speakerphone. Bridesmaid 1 said that she discovered her husband had been having an affair from his little sister. He told her that he had been bringing his affair partner to their parents' house while his parents were out of the country. The little sister took pics of them in a video of them coming out of his old bedroom kissing. Then last week, stranger pulled up, not her brother. The same woman got out. They had a key, and little sis took more pictures. Why does no one know little sis is around?
She's just like,
Yeah.
she's like behind a bush. She's going like snapping pictures. She's like, she has a podcast. She's like, hello, I'm in the backyard of OP's stepmom.
And it was the other groomsmen. Bridesmaid 1 then started following my stepmom, as she knew exactly who she was. The little sis thought she was a cheap, spicy worker, lol. That's when she saw my ex-fiance with her at a cheap motel, and yes, she had pics.
Dude, she's got pics of everything. Hire this girl.
Yes.
She's killing it.
Holy cow.
Eliana Bain says she has interests and hobbies. So true.
She apologized for how she went about exposing everything, but honestly, she was distraught and not in her right mind. Both their significant others finally admitted to everything. I stopped them there. At this point, I didn't care how it started, only that it happened. She sent me the pics and apologized profusely. I then called my father again on speaker, as I just needed someone to hear this crazy, unbelievable story, so I knew I wasn't losing my effing mind. Oh, and my poor father was a mess, because I was like,
Yeah, isn't this his like wife?
yeah, my stepmom had been punted out and was staying with her sister. My father said that she told him she had been blackmailed into it. That Bridesmaid 1's husband found some provocative videos of her on a porn site from her younger years and threatened to expose her. I asked him if he believed her and what he planned to do. My father and I are a lot alike. As he said, he didn't care how it started. She was effing 3 guys for the past 3 months.
Yeah, he's like, it doesn't really matter how it started. It's just the fact that it was happening at all.
Yeah.
I don't need to know any more information.
We just need to put it into this.
Yeah.
Put it into the misery. I told him I had pics and a video, and she looked like she was enjoying herself. After I hung up, I called the soon-to-be ex. He had the nerve to be mad at me for running off with his brother. He even accused me of sleeping with him. Ha ha ha. Oh, heck no. I lost my crap.
Yeah.
I reminded him of my past as a survivor and how it takes a lot for me to even be remotely comfortable enough to be intimate with someone, and how he was only one of the 2 partners I've ever had. The first before. I screamed at him how they knew about what happened to me. I told him he was disgusting human for telling them about what happened to me. I told him about that in confidence, and he blabbed my nightmare to his buddies over beers. Oh, heck no. I told him he made me sick. He kept crying and pleading with me to forgive him. I told him that under no circumstance would I ever take him back, and there was nothing he can do short of building a time machine, which even then, no, because in some alternate universes, it still happened. I told him my father and cousins would be by in the next couple of days to get my things. I said it would probably be best if he wasn't there, because my father would almost likely beat his butt. So that was almost 3 months ago. I stayed at the cabin with Zach for the first week, and he honestly was my rock. He told me I could stay at the cabin indefinitely and made me a key. He had to report back after the week and now wasn't sure if he was going to retire after all. He checked up on me and we talk and FaceTime all the time. He's still unsure of what he needs to do. He has one more week to decide. He has spoken to his brother twice, but I told him I don't want to know what he said. By the way, we can tell you what was said, and you can come to your favorite podcast platform and listen to more stories just like this one. Go to search up OK Storytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts for more stories just like this. My father is divorcing the step monster.
Yay.
You think the drama was done, but no.
No.
The ex had a mental breakdown and checked himself into a mental health facility for 2 weeks. When he got out, he proclaimed himself a new man.
You can't do that after 2 weeks.
Now he's got his family, not Zach, and friends campaigning for him to get a second chance. They have been bombarding me with guilt trips and pleas to just talk with him. I've not spoken to him since the first conversation. My father and Tia handled all the cancellations for the wedding. I gave my wedding dress to my cousin for her wedding next year and whatever else she could use that I could not return. So, good people of Reddit, should I hear him out? I'll update if I know how, if I decide to talk with him.